Welcome in, everybody. We are so excited to be here with you. This is the Tarot of Love Masterclass. So hopefully that's what you're here for. If you're here for something else, you're in the wrong place. I am so delighted to be here today on so many levels. First of all, to bring this class to you is an honor, because this is my teacher.
No.
And honestly, the only person who reads for me. I don't really invite a lot of people into my energy field. This is Lorrie Kazan. I won't do too much of a lengthy introduction. I do want her to introduce herself. She has been a reader and a mystic and an empath and a psychic, and has real chops behind her that I hope she'll speak to, including the Edgar Cayce Institute and other work that you've done. So it really is a privilege to bring her to you. Some of you know her and have worked with her because I've mentioned her many times before. ilovemypsychic.com, which is where you can find her. She is a writer, one of the most beautiful writers I've ever known. And so every word she writes, I just cling to it. And so she also has a newsletter that you can receive and also work with her privately. So you can also have the benefit of that as well. And Karen Brown, who is in the feed, has had sessions with you too. So anyway, without further ado, this is Lorrie Kazan. And today what she's going to be doing is sharing with you, just as she shared with me decades ago, her vision of what it means to be psychic, intuitive, and also how to work with, today, the major arcana of the tarot. And like I said, she was my first teacher. She's still my strongest imprint in terms of how I view these cards and why I see them as portals to a deeper archetypal understanding. And in a reading, I tend to get mostly major arcana cards in my readings. You know, I've always had this incredible archetypal life. That can be a gift and a challenge, depending on how you look at it. But I don't want to take too much time, because you know how these 2-hour sessions go. They just fly by. And she's just like me. I'm sure she's going to show you. She's got pages and pages and pages of notes. And just like me, you're going to be like, tell us more. Seriously, they probably would get a kick out of just seeing, like, she is beyond prepared. So welcome in. I hope you enjoy this session. If you're a reader, if you're a psychic or an empath or a mystic, if you read for yourself or read for other people, I think this is going to be an illuminating couple of hours. So with no further ado, Lorrie Kazan.
Thank you. I don't know how to live up to that. You speak so well. You're always so eloquent. I am a psychic reader. I'm a reader for the Edgar Cayce Foundation, which means I was selected. They do a well, they don't do it anymore, I don't think, but they used to do an audition, and it's hard to be eloquent about yourself. Anyway, I was selected as one of the top readers for the Edgar Cayce Foundation. If you don't know about Edgar Cayce was one of the most documented psychics in history, and I don't know anybody else that reads like him. You'll meet people that say they're the reincarnation of Edgar Cayce. I've never seen it yet. And I've got a lot of friends that spend a lot of money on reincarnated people.
But what was truly unique about him as a reader? Like,
what was unique about him was his accuracy, and first of all, he got into it because he lost his voice, and nothing would restore his voice. And finally, he did this hypnosis, and when he was under the hypnosis, he started talking, and he talked in like a biblical language. But what was one of the things that's particularly unique, he would read for somebody. They weren't there with him. He would be in a sleep kind of prone position, and somebody would be taking notes as he was talking. He said, what will cure you? What will heal you of this illness? Go to such and such a pharmacy on such and such a street, wherever that person happened to live. And the person calls back, or writes back in those days, 30s, 40s, and says, well, I went to that pharmacy, but they didn't have that. And he would go into the sleep thing again and then say, tell the pharmacist it's on the third shelf from the bottom behind the blue bottle.
Oh, no way.
And I don't know anybody else that can do that. I mean, we all get these things. I think for all of us, it's hard not to be in doubt with psychic things, because we have times where we're like, hey, I'm really good. It's really working. And then other times where it's like, am I kidding? Or especially if you do readings professionally, where you want to read, you want to give everybody, at least I do, give everybody
The best.
as
Yeah,
much
yeah.
as you can. And what I've discovered with that is know your audience in a sense that you can overfill a cup, which is why all these notes, like keep it simple. A lot of times, especially in my early days, I would think, oh, that's not psychic enough. I'm not going to say it. It's not psychic enough.
Yeah.
And then I would finally realize they didn't know it. And I don't know if anybody out there has this experience, but I had this experience a lot where I'd be out somewhere, well before I started doing this work, I'd be out somewhere and I'd go up and I'd just notice something about somebody, and it would be the very thing that was a secret.
Wow.
And I just started talking, I didn't know it was a secret. I just thought it was obvious.
Yeah. To them too, right?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes, or something for them to look at. I once complimented this woman's neck. There was something just so elegant. I couldn't figure out what it was. And when I said that, she's like, oh, don't talk about my neck. And I'm like, why? What's wrong? I mean, I would love to have a neck like that. And she said, well, I was in an accident years ago, and I've done all this work on my neck. And what I could say to her is, well, it worked.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've got all this swan-like energy around your neck.
That was not interesting.
Maybe I can work on swan-like. And
Yeah, I don't think of myself as swan-like. At 5 feet tall, it's really hard to be swan-like.
Are you 5 feet tall?
I'm 5'1" on a good day with poofy hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think you look
Thank
perfect
you.
because I'm 5'2".
I have big energy. But
Yeah, you do. You've got that Leo. You got Leo energy. I've got Capricorn energy. I'm always going to the top of the mountain.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so to get started,
Yeah.
and please feel free to ask any questions. And because my primary function is intuition, and they say in the second part of your life you want to learn your inferior function, which for me would be sensate, numbers, linear, but I'm not learning it quite as quickly as.
I'm not learning my shitty functions yet either, but I got time, I think.
So let me see from my crazy notes here.
And by the way, we are leaving, I'm watching the time, and we will leave maybe the last half hour for Q&A.
Yeah,
so
that's
yeah,
fine.
but for now we're gonna kind of let's let her dive in and share. Yeah, so make sure there will be time for questions for sure.
And if you've read with me, I always encourage people to ask questions because I can go all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, do you want to know past lives? And very often, and if you do readings, that people want to know, you didn't tell me what time he's calling. Is he calling on Tuesday or Wednesday? And is it 3 or 4?
Yeah.
And being human, I certainly understand that. We want the big, but we also want to be loved in the physical realm.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to just take a moment and I want to call in all of our angels. The angels for me, the angels for this building, the angels for Athena. I'm calling in the guides and angels for every person here, every person on this, I don't know if we're on a call or Zoom, every person that's connected with us. And let's call in the angels for everybody in the world. The world could use it right now. Let's call in Ukrainian angels over the Ukraine, over our weather. So calling in, the angels are looking at me like, well, what do you want?
Yeah.
I want the highest vibration for us today. I want to have a sense what I want is to be able to feel like I'm trusted, like I'm trusting, and I can trust, and I'm protected. And I want that for you too. And I want you all to take a moment and just call in your angels and guides, even though I'm doing it. And some of you will feel it, some of you won't. That doesn't mean it's not there. We all have different ways of perception. And I'm just going to call in the highest light for this room, the light of the Ascended Masters. You can imagine like 3 golden suns above the building where you are, bringing in the light of the Ascended Masters, Kuan Yin, Buddha, Christ, the whole group. And just coming and surrounding us like a giant egg around the building. All right, we'll start there. And
my shaman calls them all the cool kids.
All the cool kids, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, another thing that we can do, it's not on tarot, but that I learned, I think it's a Berkeley Psychic Institute technique, which I'll teach you at another time, but
Yeah,
it has
yeah.
to do with before you call in the light coming in, you put grounding cords.
Yes, yeah.
On all the corners of the room, the center of the room, and for you out there between your ovaries or where
Oof,
they be.
let's do that. Feels good.
And have that grounding cord be as wide as your hips are wider. Give it a whatever color you want. I think we're going for reds and purples
Yeah,
today
I'm into
here.
that. Mm-hmm.
And have it go into the core of the earth like an anchor or a cat's tail. And we're doing that to the building. You can imagine that in the building in your mind's eye. And then we can tell any energy that isn't for the highest and best to turn, let's say, dark blue and go down that grounding cord into the core of the earth where it turns into usable golden light and goes back to its source. And you can feel the light of you expanding. That golden light of you, that high vibration light of you expanding. You can call your energy back from your car, from anywhere that, knowing that the universe can do it for you, anywhere that your energy is left and you can call it back and have it come back to you as usable golden light. And you can send anybody else's energy back to them as usable golden light. You can go into the center of your head. That's another class. Go into the center of your head, the place behind your third eye. And if you see anybody else in there, tell them to get out, sweep it out, light it up. That's your place of personal power. And I'm also getting throat chakra. So that's, we could go into all the chakras, but throat chakra is a good one, maybe for me especially because I'm talking.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the major arcana and love. And I was looking at that is, how do you address that? And one of the ways that I thought of addressing it is having people first look at their life destiny number. Do you know?
I think she should teach you because
Okay, I'm
may
gonna
be
tell
different
you-
from other ways that people have learned. Yeah.
Okay, I keep thinking that's a person over there. There's this sort of dummy over there.
Charlotta.
Charlotta.
Yeah, which I chose that name because I've never known a Charlotta, so I didn't want to offend anybody by naming my chakra doll.
Oh, it's a chakra doll.
So she came as a blank, by the way, and my friend Sherry painted her with all the chakra symbols.
Interesting.
So
yeah.
I do when I can't do body work on a person. I do. But anyway,
Clever.
Charlotta has no hair, and she always looks like she's masturbating. So I moved her hands away from her body. But that's that is not a person.
She's got nice red lips. She looks like a cancer person though, with red lips. Okay. So to do your life destiny number, if your birthday, say your birthday was January 1st, 2001, you would go 1 + 1 + 2 + 1, and then get your number. And if it's a double-digit number, add those two numbers together. There are some master numbers like 11. But if you're a master number, your life destiny number is a master number like 11, if you added those two together, it would be a 2, which is beauty and harmony. So the 11 is a real cosmic, it carries a lot of energy, but you get to rest in the 2.
Yeah.
I met a numerologist. He's like, oh no, I never tell anybody if they're 11. I never tell them if they're a master number. They can't handle it. But if you're with me, you're going to you can handle it.
Do you think are 22s the same for you? Do you see them as master numbers too?
Card 22, yes, it is a master
Yeah,
number.
Yeah.
And I think of it as a master builder.
Oh, because 4 is foundation.
How do you see it?
I see it that way too. I see 4 as foundation.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're master builders. I've never heard that, but it really resonates.
Yeah, I see it that way. And it's something I was noticing, like as I was preparing for this class, is I was thinking about how I read, and even in looking at the cards, you can know what does this card mean, and you can know meanings. And then we're also, if we have time, going to do a little meditation where you go into the card and explore what the card wants to talk to you about.
Yeah, it's cool. They're all chiming in. You don't have to look at it, but
I can't even see it.
Yeah. No. So again, you're going to add up. Like I'm August 9th, 1973. So it's 8 + 9 + 1 + 9 + 7 + 3. It's a lot of math for me. But that reduces to I think I'm a 3710. So that reduces to 37 as I recall, and then 3 + 7 is 10, which makes me a 110. So the magician is usually my destiny card. So that's
not a
that's her
surprise.
math. Yeah.
So keep it simple. Are they getting it?
Yeah, they got it. Yeah, you guys have got it. Well, no, a lot of them know their number, so you can keep
I
moving.
can see. I can see 7.
Yeah. 7s and 8s and 3s.
I read for a lot of 7s. 7 is like science and spirituality mixed together, and I call it the learning, the coming into this life to learn to let go and let God.
Ooh, interesting.
And if I use the word God and you don't like it, I just mean a higher power.
Yeah.
You know, I knew a woman, she'd say, I don't care if you pray to your shoe. Find something that you can, you know, I think of it like the ocean. You know, I can look at the ocean waves and go, oh, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Even though I think I control the world sometimes in my, you know, human thinking. Okay, so where were we? So you can pull the card, like for me, I'm the Empress.
Yeah.
And the Empress is also card 21 and 12. Those turn into a 3, but, you know, pull 1 for today.
Yeah.
And pull your card. And then I'd like you to take a moment, close your eyes, and I'd like you to pull a card for, let me see if I phrased it better in this. I'd like you to pull a card for, actually I'm just going to call in the higher power and ask that the phrasing be given to me. Pull in a card for what is your soul's love lesson in this life. And I'm going to say something more about it, but pull with your non-dominant hand if you can. But you're already guided. You got animal guides around you too. I can see a lot of you with animal guides. And a lot of you have these beautiful spirits. And now they're like, well, which one of us doesn't?
They do. Yeah, I told her she was going to fall in love with you.
Yeah, no, I can see these beautiful spirits. At least I can see the auras. I can't read the writing. So pull a card, and this is your love lesson in this life. Now know that can, when you learn a lesson, it can change. So it's like, I got my love lesson that I pulled the card for was the Hermit. Now, nobody wants to get the Hermit as their love lesson.
Or the Tower.
Yeah, the Tower is like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Oh, that explains it. But I was thinking, you know, when I was thinking about the Hermit, and I thought, well...
That's what I got, by the way, Wheel of Fortune.
Oh, the Wheel of Fortune.
But that's 110, right? I mean,
that's one of your cards.
One of my, that is one of my life.
But it also tells you that your fortune shifts.
It does.
So if you're on the side where the merry-go-round is like, you're like, oh, the merry-go-round starts again. But I think one of the things I like about the cards is that it can teach us how not to be on the roller coaster.
Yeah.
Or like, the merry-go-round's going to spin me. Well, how do I not be spun? Let me cough for a second.
Yeah. We're both recovering from a little cold, so bear with us.
You know that thing that everybody's had?
Yeah.
Talk about throat chakra. No, we're under the throat. I'm going to see.
Yeah,
what color is this? Blue?
Blue.
So let's imagine this. I see this azure blue. Or, ooh, can you feel it?
Like an ocean kind of.
Yeah, ocean blue is what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Although it reminded me of azurite, which Edgar Casey said was such...
you taught me that, and I shared that with them.
One of your students was it, because I was like, I'm trying to remember the name of the stone. Edgar Casey said, and she goes,
they told you?
Azurite. And I'm like, oh, thank God. Thank God. See what happens when you share?
No, I know. I swear. I mean, a lot of what you have learned from me, I'm telling you, are little nuggets from Lorrie over the years. You'll see it as we go through today.
Well, I looked at how you broke down the cards on your website, and you broke them down really well. I've known Athena since she was quite young. She's still young.
19, 30 years.
She was amazing. You came into my class, and you were like, it was a different time to be psychic.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't talk. I never talked about being psychic, I said I was intuitive, and it wasn't until I started getting involved with the Edgar Casey Foundation, and they wanted me to do things, and they're like, I said, look, I'm an intuitive. What do you mean I'm a psychic? And they said, Edgar Casey said, the intuition is even more important to than the psychic. And it's like, well, what do you mean? So in doing readings, I once told a woman, oh, this guy's going to show up at your work on a Thursday. He's going to be wearing a white shirt. You know, the guy she had a crush on. He's going to be wearing a white shirt. Oh my God, he showed up on the Thursday wearing a white shirt. Well, she loved me after that.
Yeah.
But intuition would say, I think, so what?
Yeah. What are you going to do about it?
So, yeah. Because people love those, we love those big, you said the doorbell was going to ring, and the doorbell rang, and Bluebeard was out, whatever.
Yeah.
But the intuition, I have a definition of intuition I was showing Athena.
I'm lucky enough, I got to take classes in her home, and she had snacks and like incredible people she would come to invite as guests, and you always felt like you were in like a mystery school. It just, no, it felt like, ooh, I'm here and I got invited and I got to be here and stuff. It was very special in those days.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was my goal in life. I wanted to be in one of those mystery schools.
Yeah.
And it's funny that now this has become so mainstream in so many ways that even like Edgar Casey, the Casey Foundation used to be one of the few places you could get the information.
Yeah.
And now they're having to fight to keep up
Oh, yeah.
with this, you know.
Yeah.
But one of the things that Edgar Casey said, if you want to be more psychic, be more spiritual. He, you know, like many of us, Capricorn, I want Virgo moon, I want to make sure that I've got, you know, everything I need to know. But one of the things is meditating, just allowing that presence of God or what universe to come through you and bring you that information. And also, as I'm saying this, I also get forgiveness because we hold on to so much. And that the card that I pulled, I'm just chatting away.
Yeah, no, you guys, she's doing the thing.
The card that I pulled, that Hermit card for my life lesson, there's also, you know, each of the card has many meanings, and one of them I was reading, it's like forgiveness, letting go of stuff. Mm-hmm. So if you're a person, I tend to be a clutterer. I'm a 3. 3s take from all different, but the letting go and the forgiveness is, well, that's a whole class in itself, as I'm a class. Like, okay, now we're done with forgiveness. We spent an hour on it.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, intuition.
Yeah.
Somebody else who's a psychic said all psychics have ADD. We're like, oh, wait a minute, there's a bright light.
Look, a chicken.
And if you were in this office, you would see like, it's like a fun house in a beautiful way.
There's stuff everywhere.
But it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Everything is laid out well. It has, you know, just like you've created the structure with Sage Goddess.
Yeah.
You've done it in a very smart way. And one of the things I always said about you when you were 19 is like you were smart and ahead of your time.
Yeah, I remember.
And I always believed in you.
She did.
Okay, so here's a definition, and I don't know what class I got this from. Intuition is not the ability to see several moves ahead in a chess game. It is a dimension of emotional intelligence which provides creative perspectives on people and situations. It is a continually operative connection with the world around us. Okay, I can, if anybody wants a copy of that.
Yeah. If it's okay, maybe we'll type it and just post it later, the full quote.
Great.
It's a beautiful quote.
Yeah, because I don't think you want my handwritten one. Okay. Although maybe you do want my handwritten. You want my handwritten.
I told her how you are about notes.
I have one thing, my cat, this is an off, again.
No, we're crazy cat people.
So my cat, this is a cat that's no longer with us, but I was writing, you can see what I was writing, I took a picture of it, it's probably on my phone. And I was writing, and it was like I blinked my eyes, and there were red blood spots all over the page.
No way.
Yeah. And I took it to the vet. I took the cat to the vet, because I didn't see, nothing came out of the cat. I didn't do anything more than just blinking my eyes, and it's like, where did the red spots?
Wow.
I wasn't writing with a red pen.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I get a lot of signs in my life, and I don't remember. I wrote an article.
Which cat was that?
What?
Which cat was that?
I think that was that Clarissa?
Or Merlin?
It might have been Merlin and Clarissa.
Uh-huh.
I think it was both of them.
Yeah, yeah.
And maybe, I can't remember which, but I remember the vet is like, well, there's nothing wrong with this cat. And I'm like, I know there's nothing wrong with the cat. And whenever I'd see her, she'd say, did you ever figure out what that blood, because I thought she could put it under a microscope. Tell me if, as I looked at the ceiling, and it's like, well, there's no red. Is ink coming from the ceiling?
Yeah.
I wrote a piece, it's on my site, and maybe it'll remind me what I got out of it, but it was called God Shots. I think it's the one.
Oh, interesting. Oh, that's
God
a fun
Shot.
hashtag.
Because I think we get these God shots.
do.
It's like, wait a minute. And one other little aside. When I go to the vet, and the vet says, and when my cats were, where I thought the cat was dying, and the vet says, oh, I can't tell. I have to do another test and another test and another test. And I think, my clients wouldn't put up with that. And people go, well, like, psychics are really nutty and you can't trust them. And then I'm like, try the vet. They run up $1,000 bill. And then she comes back to me and goes, you were right.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I know I was right, so I had to spend another $1,000. And then, anyway.
It sounds like a reality show, The Vet and the Psychic.
The vet and the psychic. And it's like,
we have some vets in our community, by the way, too. So,
Well,
but they're
and-
not. They would probably be laughing at this right now.
well, great. I would like to be able, but you know what? With Clarissa,
Yeah.
and this vet ran five, at that point,
I remember
five.
Clarissa very well.
Yeah,
I do.
you and she had that connection.
We did.
Well, this vet, she was dying, and I didn't quite know it. That was my first cat going through this. I knew something was dreadfully wrong, and when I took her to he had her sit there. Anyway, it's not a great story, but then he told me I had to go somewhere else with her. He didn't want to tell me that the cat was dying. He was busy running tests. He ran up all this thing.
Yeah.
He said, "Oh, bring this to the place on 190th." That's And the woman looked at me and she said, "Your cat. I hate to bring. Your cat is dying."
Yeah.
And then it was like, "Oh, she's right.
But it was just a validation of your psychic
She's
hit,
right."
your God shot, right? I mean,
But she didn't waste any time because
Yeah.
he's like, "Oh, take this test and show her," and she's like, and then I just, compassion is a really great thing to have. And those of you, which is probably everybody out there that's had your heart broken, that's gone through all of these things, that we will see mirrored in the major arcana. See how I brought it back?
Yeah. No, look at that.
Mirrored in the major arcana, because it tells you, oh, you hit the Tower card. Oh, no.
Yeah.
The Tower card,
It's always
everything's
that
falling
inhale.
apart. And then there's power in declaring, I learned this at probably the S training or landmark,
I was
but
gonna say landmark, probably, right?
landmark, but I actually did EST also.
Did you?
I am a seeker, yeah, and I got a lot out of EST. Because one of the things I got out of it is what I hope everybody brings. I'm going to go off on another.
You do your thing. No, they're
So-
used to this. Now you know where I get it from.
So one of the things that I learned from Werner Erhard, and I know when you say Werner Erhard, it can make you sound like you're whatever, but he said we go into situations and we're like, entertain me. I don't know if I'm going to like you. I don't know. And he said, why don't you create the speaker? Like, we're always creating each other. Why don't you create the speaker and go in with an open mind? And in Landmark Education or S, they would have people in the back of the room that I suggested this to her, and she may be on the Zoom thing today. Have a committed listener behind you. And I said to this person who I did a reading for last week, imagine when you're talking to people that don't get you, imagine that Athena is behind you because everybody loves you.
Thank you.
Imagine that I'm behind you and Athena's behind those people.
Yeah.
And talk to us.
Yeah.
And that's what they would do. They would have a committed listener until the rest of the group kind of picked up.
Yeah.
Because it can be very invalidating.
If you think that person's, I always say, pretend there's somebody who thinks you're cute.
Oh, that's good.
Just because it's
God
like,
knows it's
I
not
don't
me.
know. Well, no, but you know what I mean. Like, you're looking at these people, probably think I look like a mess, and it's like, but there's somebody back there who thinks I look really cute. I'm gonna talk to that person back there.
But I
It's the
think
same
also
thing.
hearing your
But
ideas.
hearing you, validating, it's like, no, somebody who's going to be very receptive. I think that's very true, because a lot of times, most people are waiting for you to stop talking so they can start talking, or they're looking for a chink in the armor, right? They're waiting for the thing that, like, entertain me. Come on, clown, right? And it's
right.
Yeah, but there's somebody back there, Charlotta, who really thinks you're interesting.
And if you do readings or are going to do readings, you'll experience, I think we get clients, have velvet ropes around yourself. What kind of clients do you want to pull in? Like, I know the kind of people, when Athena sends me someone or they've come with Athena, I'm like, oh, good.
Yeah.
Because they're generally nice people.
Well, and they want to know the truth. They're not there for a story or to make themselves feel better. They're there to heal.
Yeah. So if you get somebody and they say, if you tell me I'm not going to if this guy is not my soulmate, I'm going to kill myself.
Oh.
Then
I'm
you
not
can-
laughing.
But
That's
people
real.
do that.
No, that's real.
Somebody called me and it's like, okay, well, he's not your soulmate. Here's the other thing. On soulmates, we have more than one. And also soulmates, I used to think it meant you lived happily ever after. And again, through these cards, the Tower, then the Star, oh, okay, something doesn't work, something fell apart. But the Star says, okay, life just cut off things that you were wanting to hold on to. keep your hands open, and what would you pick today? Like if I had gotten my wish of the man I had a crush on when I was in college, who later got interested in me, and now I think how old he would be really old. He was really old then.
Yeah.
Father issues.
Yeah.
Anyway, cut that out, the father issues part.
They all have either father or
Yeah.
mother issues, so yeah.
But it's not the person I would choose today. And you're going to change and transform just like these cards do. So the cards start out, these are the inner child cards. And I like these because it gives you, I don't know if that's going to, if you can see them.
Yeah, let me hold it up a little bit.
It gives you, the Fool in this card deck is Little Red Cap. It's the inner child cards by Isha Lerner. And I think those are really beautiful cards. I didn't put them in order.
Karen and Alexis, can we link to these decks just so that people, if they want to find these decks, we don't have any financial stake in that, but some people may want the links to be able to buy these decks. I actually need to get this deck. I've meant to get it before. But so as you know, the major arcana are all numbered, and 0 is the Fool.
Yeah. 0's the Fool, and 0 comes, there's 22 cards in the major arcana. Mm-hmm. And 0 unofficially comes back. So the last of the major card 21 is the World Dancer, the Earth Child. In this deck, it's called Earth Child. In this deck,
21.
It's called the World.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of decks. If you come to my house, you'll see. And the Thoth deck, I don't know what they call it. You can take a look.
Yeah, let me find 22.
What was I going to say? We start out in life as the innocent Little Red Riding Hood.
Universe, yeah.
We start, that's done, the art on that is by Frida Harris, and it's a Crowley deck.
Yeah.
We start out as Little Red Riding Hood. Oh, Big Bad Wolf. Yeah, I'm going to Grandma's. Oh, here's her address. I love everybody. And come on out to Grandma's. And then I just flashed on this cartoon I posted in my newsletter last week where Grandma's wearing where the Big Bad Wolf was wearing lingerie, and it says, Grandma had quite an attire. She had more stuff to choose from.
My grandma was very sexy. Do you know my grandma almost got booted out of her her home that she was in at the end of her life because she was showing naked pictures of herself and when she was very young, and to the the nurse assistants and stuff,
Wow.
This is me now, but check out me then.
Oh, that's
and,
funny.
Yeah, no, they actually she got a warning, and then they called my mom and said, you need to take these pictures away, it's but my grandma had it going on.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, some grandmas, at 80 years
Well,
old.
I'm now grandma age. Somebody once asked me, she goes, do you have any grandchildren? I'm like, grandchildren? You could ask me if I had any children first. What? And I said, did you just say grandchildren? And she's like,
Yeah.
and I just thought, anyway, she's not a committed listener for me. So we start out as the innocent fool.
Yeah.
And then we go through this series of life lessons. Some are good, some are, it's up and down, but they're all lessons. And then the Fool unofficially comes in as card 22. There isn't really a card 22, but she comes back. And because we become the learned fool. It's like, do I want to be this person? Life has really beat me up and I'm not participating. And we all think when we've been beaten up, it's kind of like when the Me Too movement started.
Yeah.
And I heard all this stuff that happened to these other women. It was like, oh, mine doesn't look as bad compared,
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
like what happens to you, we always think it's just us.
Yeah.
And for the most part, it's everybody gets something. Okay.
So do you see the major arcana as the journey of the Fool to come to that place of what
I
am I going
do.
to do with that?
I do. I think it is the journey of a soul. And like I said, if you're in the Tower card, you can go, oh, Tower card's part of life. Things fall apart. The center cannot hold.
It's my favorite poem.
One of mine too. And then it's like, oh, but it doesn't end there. You have the star. How good could it be? What do I want? I was holding on to this and don't we all do that with relationships? I know this is as good as it's ever going to get for me. I don't want to take a chance. And then the universe is like, you're taking that chance. And you're like, I'm not taking that chance. I always felt like, God, I would settle. Let me settle. But, again, what's your life lesson? Okay, let's go back to that life lesson, your love lesson. So you have your card. In my case, it's the Empress for my card, my life destiny card, and then I pulled the Hermit.
Mm-hmm.
So in my younger life, it would have taught me it's okay to go in. It's okay not to love, not to be desperate for love. The Empress is love and wisdom, and her lesson is to receive. Empress wants to give to everybody. She's the caretaker. She can be the mother archetype. She's abundance. She's flow. She can indicate pregnancy. But her lesson, and that this is the lesson of a 3 as well, is to find its own unique balance. And that lesson of the Empress, love and wisdom, is to be able to receive love. And I think in my younger years, it would be like, no, this guy's good enough. I'm going to make this work. And, and the 9 is also a healer. And that Hermit is also a healer. In the inner child cards, it's the Wizard.
Number 9 or number 3?
9.
9.
And
I've always thought of 9s as wizards. Like, they're not quite human.
here, look, don't you love this image?
Ooh, I do. Look
I
at
love
this.
the art in this, and I don't like the art in a lot of decks.
It reminds me of my friend Louie Craig. Doesn't it remind you of Louie? Anybody in the feed? I have a friend who very much is that energy. I wonder if he's
I
in
like
Nine
that.
Life Path. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's in the regular deck, it's your Hierophant card. So if you're a 5,
Mm-hmm.
if you're a 5, it's like, what does it mean to be the Hierophant? Is it, just the structure? What does it mean? I forget. I have the book here, but I don't want to take time. What it is to be the wizard. But we can look at this card. How are we doing on time? Do I have
You have a good chunk. We're not going to Q&A for another 50 minutes.
Because what I'm wondering, and I got a lot of notes here, I want to make sure I get brief meditation.
It might be good just to go through the cards just kind of one by one with quick kind of hits, because they're probably wondering what's mine, as a destiny card. So maybe just a minute on each card might be helpful. Do you want to use Rider-Waite?
I think I'll use the Rider-Waite,
Yeah,
yes, and I
yeah.
think they have the Rider-Waite too.
Yeah, and you guys, we created kind of a mock-up of the Rider-Waite, but if you have the Rider-Waite, you can go through, or if you don't have cards, she'll show you. It was so cool to touch your cards today, because, those are
I
the same.
felt that when I was going through, because I'm so jaded to it. I've been doing this professionally, I've been doing it since the 90s.
I know.
And when I was looking through these Rider-Waite cards today, trying to put them in order, which I didn't finish, I was like, God, this is magical.
It's super magic.
And then
I was honored. I actually asked her, I'm like, are you sure it's okay for me to touch your cards?
Oh, you did, and I think
did.
it's a good question.
Yeah.
Because I do have decks that only I touch, although
I think
you
it's
have
good.
a special touch.
Well,
So
we can clear the deck, but it's still nice to ask people if they can touch your things.
People need to be conscious in general.
Yeah.
Okay, so we started with that Fool, Parsifal, and if you know the Holy Grail story, Parsifal on the journey, being the outsider, and I was going to talk about the Grail, but I'm going to go to card 1, the Magician. This is your card.
That's my card.
One of the things it means, Angelus Arian talks about this, follow what has heart and meaning for you.
Yeah.
And you're doing that, Sage Goddess was born.
I am. Mm-hmm. That's true.
Do you want to say anything about?
Learn to use your tools. It's all 4 elements at the fingertips. So it's like, you got to use earth, air, fire, and water to make magic.
And if you have a guy or a woman that you're interested in, and they're a 1, are they Peter Pan? Can they commit? Are they a union? What's it? Puer, I think the union's called.
Uh-huh,
Okay, that's 1.
Yeah.
The next card is the High Priestess.
Yeah.
And to me, she embodies wisdom. To me, it's like pause. Take a moment to pause. It's beauty and harmony.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole lot of writing about the structure she's sitting in, and the
Pillars
Torah,
around her and all of that.
the
Mm-hmm.
ancient temple, and but for me, it's like a callback to the heart. And something I wrote down, I don't know where it is in my notes, but that your heart is your secret sanctuary. It's your secret sanctuary of love. And I would say that our whole bodies are that, all of these chakras.
Do you feel like, because I also see her as duality and polarity, one of my questions for you around her in a love reading is, do you see her as maybe your partner learning to see you as sacred, or you learning to see partnership as sacred?
I'd say it's you, depending on who I was talking to.
Yeah.
Trusting your own wisdom, trusting that more will be revealed. They say if your own house is in order, more will be revealed. More is always revealed, but can you see it? And that pause, I was telling somebody about this last week, postpone action until serenity emerges.
That's juicy. Let's say that again. Pause as an acronym. Postpone
action until serenity emerges. Again, it's kind of like that hermit that I drew. I could say for most of my life, and especially if you live in the U.S., we're a very driven, left brain, get it done, ooh, show what you've got, is your house better than my house, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And there's a lot of comparison, like they're ahead of me, they're behind me, I'm better, I'm not as good.
Well, and it's the human mind to do that.
Yeah.
But it's, the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute, halt. Somebody's always going to come up better, or somebody's going to be better or worse. And generally we're going to be worse, especially if there's another woman involved. Oh, if I could only be like her.
Yeah.
Or then the person picks a woman that's like her. You picked her over me. I mean, you can't win the comparison.
Nope.
So, yeah, you can, here's the thing, if we have time, and we'll do it, going into the card and seeing what's the card's message to you. If you were to walk around in this card, we know it was designed a certain way by...
Let's just show you, because sometimes the light is a little unclear.
Okay, so we're at 2. Let me find the 3.
Yeah.
Empress.
That's
Empress.
Zoe, too.
She's a 3?
She's Empress. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a psychic once told me for a 3 life destiny, he said, look at a pyramid and see that it has its own unique balance. And 3s, well, I talked about the Empress before. It's love and wisdom, it's abundance, it's pregnancy, it's and it's also learning how to receive as much as you give, not forcing people. Because those of us who are givers, certainly in our early lives, are like, wait a minute, these people are narcissists. They're just taking. We meet lots of narcissists, and it's like, halt, never get too hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. This is an old acronym. But
I learned that from her.
It's also knowing, it's like not trying to make somebody be what you want them to be. That for me is, and I think for a lot of people is really hard. It's like, I got this guy or this woman, or, I got this person that I'm focused on. Can't it be good enough? I'll mold them if they just listen to me, or I'll try again. And
or even with ourselves, like if I just lose 10 pounds, or if I just go finish my degree, or if I just, and it's like, and then we realize all of those things are sort of empty goalposts,
Yeah, but a lot of times you don't realize it until you do it. And it's, when I shattered my leg some years ago, I'm like, God, if I can just walk again, I will never want anything. And I was sure, I knew in my mind that was a lie. Yeah. But I was like, and then as soon as I could walk again, it's like, well, wait a minute, what about,
I want this other thing. Yep.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times it's, we don't want to have any pain. I just want to have love and no pain. And unfortunately, that's not how things work. But the saying, pain is part of life, suffering is optional. And that was a hard one for me to learn, that you didn't have to be dramatic about it. I'm looking for number 4, the Emperor. How many 4s? Probably a lot of 4s out there.
They're still dealing with halt because it's so good. Never get too hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. No, I can't count how many times she said that to me.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's one that I learned many years ago, and that it's like, yeah, I mean, when you're feeling, oh my God, everything's too much, it's like, wait a minute, halt.
Am I tired? Am I lonely? Am I
hungry? Yeah. And okay, so the
the Emperor. Want me to show them? Yeah. Yep.
One of the meanings that I found for the Emperor, I think this is Angeles Arian talks about, I think it was she, it can, well, not she saying this, but my will, my way is one of the ways I
Mm-hmm.
think of the emperor. You know, the emperor's complete when he's with the empress because
My
she's
will,
love
my
and
way.
wisdom, and he's like,
Ooh.
he's rulership. So I'm a 3. When I work with 4s, like when I was at the psychic bookshop and I had a friend there, she was a 4, I would say, I want to do this class, and I got all these ideas. 3s have tons of ideas, never stopped. And then she'd go, well, what time are we going to do it? What day are we going to do it? And it'd be like, as soon as you write it down, it loses a lot of that magic.
Yeah.
Because now it's into the physical world. It's like going into a funnel.
Ooh, I really didn't think about my will, my way, and how the emperor relates to the empress before. This is really powerful.
Yeah. And I think it was Angelus Arian that said something like, when you pull that card, also look at, have you had negative associations? There's the positive male and there's a negative male.
Mm-hmm.
There's the positive female and the negative female. You know, there's that duality.
Course.
And that a lot of people have had very negative associations with the negative male that's going to order you around, that's going to tell you what to do. They can't listen to you. And, you know, the Empress, she can listen to you, but she's not good at setting boundaries. The 4, he's good at setting boundaries. So in combining these energies,
Wow.
like when I would work with Courtenay, she would be like, well, what time are we going to do it? What day are we going to do it?
I remember that.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever co-teach a class?
We
I thought you did.
we did a group for psychics.
I think I was in that room.
Really?
I really did. That big back room.
I taught in that big back room. I don't know if she ever taught with me, but she used to like, I'd show
We're
her.
talking about the psychic eye in Torrance, California, by the way, which we could go on for days about stories about that. I
Yeah.
still to this day don't go. I mean, I live here now and I don't go because there's a lot of
Yeah.
There's some stuff in there, but I seem to remember that back room and I seem to remember her being there.
Well, she would, you know, it's a funny thing I was thinking about because of my insecurity. I would say, okay, Courtenay, here's my notes for the class, over prepared.
Yeah, yeah.
And she would cross out stuff. Oh, they don't need that. They're not going to get that. And now when I find some of those old notes, I go, well, why didn't I use it? Why didn't I have that faith to, you know? But she was the emperor. She's like, you know, make it, you know, you don't need all the dashes and emperors.
Well, that's why we all left and went to your house.
Yeah.
We're like,
funny.
wait, I want all the shit that I didn't get from that session that you're supposed to do.
That's
So
funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so where was I? Was that
Nah,
the
number 5. Yeah, we're on 5. Yeah.
We're on 5, which is the Hierophant.
Where are you, Hierophant?
Hierophant.
Oh, he's back,
Here
hiding
he
back there.
is.
Yeah.
And
That's
I already
nice.
showed you the wizard.
Yep. So yeah. And this is
You
the
know,
Hierophant.
here's the thing. Numerologically, 5 is, to me, is like a roller coaster ride through life. If you're a 5,
That's Dave's life path.
5s move a lot. I always say the learning of spiritual wisdom is so we don't, unless you really like big drama and the roller coaster, which I don't. I used to think it made me interesting when I was younger. But I discovered I'd rather watch that
Watch
on
a movie and shut it off.
Yeah, and no movies with dead women. Do you notice how many things have dead women? Anyway,
Yeah.
that's another aside that
That's all,
Courtenay
yeah.
would not have allowed.
Yeah.
But the 5 is like a roller coaster ride through life. So if you're on the downside, it's going to go back up. You don't have to. You don't have to blame anybody else. And 5 is also, to me, it's like a. Somebody told me this is not what an e-ticket means. So I think of it as like a ticket where you get to go on all the rides. I don't do rides, so I don't know. But
No.
you. My mind is critiquing me. Wait a minute. Stop while I'm having an inner critique.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where if you're a 5, you're learning all the life lessons. What do I like? What do I not like?
Yeah.
So if you're in a situation, I don't like this. No. Oh, here's what I like. Here's what I don't like.
Yeah.
You're learning. They say it's like the head, the arms, the whole human form.
Yeah. It's like the pentacle, right? Like you finally have the introduction of spirit to the other 4 elements.
Yes. Good point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good point. And
Because they tend to be very magical people. I mean, they don't see themselves that way, but they have magic.
well, but the person can also want to stay with a structure. This is
Yeah.
the structure, and you're going to be in it.
Yeah.
And if I would be like, I would try, but I couldn't do it. So if you're a 5, there's a lot of ways of looking at this card. Say that again, what you said about it bringing the magical.
Yeah, because I think of the four as earth, air, fire, water. It's the magician, coming into the now the activation of those four, and then with the Hierophant, he brings spirit to the other four elements, and that's the top point of the pinnacle, right? So it's like, and that's for me, spirit or the element of ether or magic or akash or whatever you call it, is the introduction of serendipity and magic and something unpredictable to these other four elements that we scientifically can prove.
I like that. And I'm looking for the Lover's card, which is 6.
That's Nick. That's my Nick, my son.
I'm not seeing it in my Rider-Waite. I might not have pulled it. Wouldn't you know I'd forget the Lover's card?
Isn't it? No, it's right there.
Where?
Right there.
Oh, I just didn't recognize it. I'll have therapy on that afterwards.
Yeah, I know. That's your next session, right? Yeah.
So.
Yeah, let me show them.
That's the Rider-Waite.
I know you guys
deck.
know a lot of these, but just in case you don't, I do like to give you kind of the close-up shot.
Yeah. Do you remember in my classes, I'd always have everybody get different
Yeah,
decks?
you would.
And
Like we'd pass them around. Yeah.
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 Because I like to look at different, again, it's a 3 thing. I like to okay, here's what the Lover's card looks like in this. If you've got the alchemical tarot, he loves to have bare-breasted women, and he's got.
Look.
It's much more.
Makes it interesting.
Yeah. So different cards,
These
different.
look like Barbie
viewpoints.
dolls, where there's really not much to look at.
This one.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the Rider-Waite, it's sort of like Barbie dolls, where it's like
Yeah.
you can tell they're anatomically correct, but it's not interesting.
I don't know what it is in the Inner Child deck.
Yeah,
if you
let me
want to
take a look. Yeah.
But so, how do you see the Lover's card?
I used to see it as one thing when I was younger. Now I see it as choices.
Yeah.
And options. Because I think when you're young, you interpret it very literally.
Well, and for a lot of people, and if you're doing readings for a lot of people, like if you work at a psychic bookshop, you're going to get people as you can hold up the Lover's card. And,
Hansel and Gretel.
Oh, yeah. Some of her definitions take a little, I don't always see them. She explains it in the book, but I don't always quite, it's not what I would have picked.
Yeah, but it is it's also seeing the masculine and the feminine in union. Because up until the Lover's card, we've seen them only separately as archetypes.
Good point.
So now finally they're co-joined, but it doesn't have to mean sexual love or partnership. But there's different, in Greek, there's all these different words for love that I've been teaching them. This is more agape than eros, right? This is more like the love of all, which can include the love of friends and other things.
Do they love the witch too? Don't they burn her up in that?
Oh, yeah, they do. And it's actually quite a violent story. It's not
The
like
witch
the
is gonna-
Disney version.
She goes back to her sources, usable golden
Well,
light.
yes, she does. And you leave that to your imagination, what that looks like.
Yeah. There's somebody who's quite well known, at least online, who does writings about the tarot cards. And I don't know where she's bringing, people love it. It's very psychological, and a lot of times it has it's just a riff on a card.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can and she teaches how to read cards.
Yeah.
And people, that's the thing about finding your own territory with the cards.
Yeah.
And to me, keep track. If what you're doing doesn't, it's like, well, that's not in the book, but every time you pull that card,
That's what's coming up.
yeah, and you find that it is true, then you've got a meaning that's in your own personal lexicon. Let's see, 6, 7 is the Chariot. Where is the Chariot?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How do you see this? Because you're good with this structure part.
Well, that always feels like a kindred card to me. It's not my card, but because I see the 7 life destiny path the same way you do, which is spirit meets matter. It's like I see this as a movement. I see it as alchemy. I also see it as sort of an Atlantean, Egyptian sort of. There's an elevation now of the consciousness. So that duality of the masculine and feminine in the Lover's card now becomes singular again, but then there's duality in the lions that are pulling the chariot, right? So it's recognizing that at some point you can't just be in the fantasy. There has to be some movement or some shift or some action. Yeah.
And I think 2 other things about this card, the sphinxes can be going in different directions.
Yeah.
And in some they are,
Oh, interesting.
and that this is a card about movement and movement forward. If somebody says, am I going to move houses? And then you pull the Chariot, it's like, well, it's likely, the cards are saying you're likely to move. Or check your car and make sure your brakes are,
Uh-huh.
But it's also,
That's true.
It's aligning, the spiritual part is aligning so that when we're interaligned, we're not going in all these opposite directions.
Mm-hmm.
You're not as easily seduced and by people, places, and things when you're like, wait a minute, you're learning this sense of where am I?
This is right for me. Yeah.
And this brings up in my mind, remember the part where I was saying from your ovaries, you know, that grounding cord deep into the earth?
Yeah.
It's like, am I aligned? You talk a lot about alignment.
I do, because I always tell people happiness is not the goal. Alignment is the goal. And alignment does not equal happy.
Yeah, you know, happiness is a whole thing in itself. We all want that, but it's like, what is it and what?
There are moments of it, but alignment is much more productive.
For me, I like to have peace of mind.
Yeah.
Peace of mind is really, because I can get very anxious and feel everybody's feelings, and it's like, okay, peace of mind, come back. It's sort of like the two, what's the two? The
High priestess.
High priestess.
Yeah.
It's like coming back and being able to just be present.
Yeah.
And okay, so we're at the 7. Where is 8?
Let's find 8.
I've made it like pickup sticks.
I know, we really did. It's like a little puzzle. It's actually kind of fun to put it together.
Here's 9.
Death.
I got 9. Death is 13, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. What am I thinking?
8. Oh,
yeah,
and
8
this
is there.
deck
Yeah,
is
yeah,
strength.
Yeah, strength. Sorry. That's a Leo card.
If you, in the Thoth deck, which I won't pull it out, but the Thoth deck, it's called lust.
Yeah.
And I like that definition because strength is always, and notice this, if some cards are like, whenever I get that card, it's always making me, like, I don't quite lock in on something.
Yeah.
It's a card to, it's a good card for you to learn more about. And
Adjustment?
it's lust.
Oh, lust. Hold on.
Lust. It's I don't know if it's 8 in that
Here
deck.
it is. No, it's 11 in this deck.
Yeah, 8s and 11s are
This
switched
is a
around.
sexy card, though. Look at this.
Yeah, that's the Leo card in the Thoth deck.
I like it better than the strength card in the Rider-Waite. I had a customer who she created a strength card for me, and my face is half me, and it's very accurate, and half lion. Really cool.
Oh,
I don't have
like
a hair.
that.
Yeah, I should have brought that in today, but yeah.
I
Not
think
beautiful.
you're 3/4 lion.
No, I was a lion once, and sometimes you can see it in my eyes. Like, I've had people tell me, like, I'll shapeshift and you can see me as a lion.
Yeah. Well, the lust card, and in this sense, the Rider-Waite-Smith, it's the strength. Different numbering. That's a whole other story in itself.
They do the different number, and so in the Thoth deck, you're not going to see alignment between the numbering and Rider-Waite, but the conceptually
In
they're
those
aligned.
two, it's always the 8
yeah,
and the
yeah.
11, and but the lust is like, what do I really want? Well, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. Well, why?
Mm-hmm.
Because I want, well, for me at this point, peace of mind.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like, well, I want a new car. And maybe you do, but what'll I have when I get it? It's
Sit with that question for a minute. What will I have when I get it?
I think it's an important question because that I learned to ask years ago. Like, I want to do this. I want to say this. And it's like, what are your motives? Well, here's another one. Yeah. Does it need to be said? Does it need to be said now? Does it need to be said by me? And if you've read with me, you've heard me say this, because I'll be like, yes, it needs to be said. Yes, it needs to be said now. Does it need to be said by me?
Wow.
Or
take that. These little nuggets from her, she says them quickly. This is how it's been for 30 years. And it takes me a minute. It might be my ADHD where, like, that has to settle into my groundwater for a minute. Like, that's a big fucking deal. Because the 9 times out of 10 when I've made a mistake, it's because I really didn't answer those questions honestly.
Yeah. Well,
because I think I'm the right person and I want to say it.
Yeah. Well, that's what I sit with this. It needs to be said by me. Why, yes, it does. And it needs to be said, and it's kind of, is it kind? No. But they need to, there's a saying again, what is it? Put down the magnifying glass and pick up the mirror, A lot of you will have heard these sayings before.
Yeah.
But looking at your motives. And what card were we on again?
8,
Oh,
strength,
the lust and the
card.
strength.
Yeah. Because sometimes it's about power. You know, if you look at the strength card, right, she's trying to,
Where'd she go?
literally, she just left. She's trying to, there's a, she looks all gentle and sweet, but she's trying to close the mouth of a lion. You know, and it's just sort of like, oh, nice kitty, that whole thing. Like, kitties aren't always nice. They will scratch your face off. You know what I mean?
But
So
she's also as strong as that lion.
she's as strong as that lion. But is she the one? Does she need to close? You know, does she need to be the one to do that? To your point,
ask yourself. Look at your motives. Yeah, she does look pretty innocent in that. Like, just shut your mouth, little lion.
Yeah.
And we've all tried to control other people, and it didn't work out so well. Maybe it worked out for you, but
Yeah.
I'd like to hear if it did. Let's see, where are we at? We
Okay,
were.
9.
I'll let you pull the cards because I've lost
No,
my boundaries.
I can do it.
This feels very lioness.
Oh God. I mean, you look up Leo in the dictionary as a picture of me, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Hermit.
Hermit, how could I forget that? So.
Not what you really want in a love reading.
Yeah, but that's what I got. And that's the healer card.
Yes,
That's
it
the
is,
go
it is.
within. In my life, did you want to say something?
No, I'm double clicking on that because it's go within.
Yeah, and I've noticed in my life that whenever we always have those slow periods. Things are moving along and then it's slow. You're going to have slow time in your business. And I always remind myself, because the mind is going to go, my business is over.
She's
done.
a Capricorn, so she's going to go there, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah, business is always comes. And I always remind myself, you better use this time while you have it, because when you get busy, you're going to be really busy and you're not going to have this again.
Yeah.
But for all of us, when, things slow down, it can be scary. But it's really an important thing because the hermit goes in for wisdom and brings that light out into the world.
Well, and that's what you do. I mean, in your life's work is you're out there ahead with the light and the lantern, and the rest of us are like kind of...
Well, it's what you do too, and it's that thing of you learn these hard lessons. And I remember I was going through something, and just like one terrible thing after another, and I said to this guy, "Why?" And he said, "It was your turn." I was like, "Oh, it was my, car, wallet."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, it was my turn. No big, And like, oh, okay, I can accept that." But like, why me?
Yeah, well, that's where the Wheel of Fortune comes in to illuminate that.
Let's
right?
go to the Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah. So here's our 10, and again, you're noticing, I think directly and indirectly, how the cards speak to each other. They're telling stories to each other, and there's also a narrative that's building. Lorrie and I are both writers and recovering literature majors, and so it's like, but there is a story that's being told, right? So the 9 Hermit is like, why me? Why do I have to go first? Why do I have to be the one? I'm out here. What if I get bitten by the wolf or whatever, right? Like, why do I have to be alone? And it's like, well, but ultimately it's a cycle, and that's where the Wheel of Fortune comes.
The we're now on the Wheel of Fortune. I was back on the, okay.
We don't have to go ahead too far.
No,
Yeah.
I just lost my place.
No,
That's why I need people around me that have structure.
Yeah. God help us if anybody's counting on me for structure.
Yeah,
we're
you're
completely
doing it for
screwed.
me.
Okay. But there's the Wheel of Fortune in
It's the merry-go-round in the inner
Yeah.
child cards.
Do, 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 do.
Yeah, that the world continues to spin.
Well, and this isn't it. I mean, this is it, but it's not it with a capital I. Yeah.
Where's the capital I? What's the it?
Well, I think it's the closing of the curtain, right? Like there's a gloom and doom energy when we're going through really difficult times because we're human and we have an amygdala that tells us, oh shit, this reminds me of some other shit that I've been through and it was horrible and I may not make it this time. Like we have these, I've been really studying the structures of the brain because one of the things I learned is if you go through intense trauma, I just learned this in the last couple of weeks from my therapist. You go through a lot of trauma, especially sustained trauma, your amygdala gets bigger and your hippocampus gets smaller. And what that does is put you in a state of just, you're constantly reacting because your hippocampus helps you not overreact to situations, but it decreases in size. And they have like MRIs to prove this.
Wow.
And then the amygdala, which tells you this looks like shit that happened before and it was real bad, or like if you have past lives, like this looks like the Holocaust, you didn't survive, right? Then that part of your brain gets bigger and you cannot manage your reactions. if you are in a sustained period of trauma
You
and stress.
become like a lizard brain.
You're just reactive. Yeah, you're just in
Yeah.
that space. So that to me tells me, like, don't be so reactive because the merry-go-round will turn.
Yeah.
Or you can get off
Postpone.
and go on a different horse. You don't like the purple horse because it's too scary, but maybe there's a blue horse that's better. Or you can sit on the bench. Like at Disneyland, there's benches between the horses.
Uh-huh.
So you can just sit the fuck down instead of being on the up and down.
Yeah. And I think it's important, again, because of the society we live in, which is all about the masculine, go get it, go win the
Be
prize.
better than everybody else. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's this place of halt
Yeah.
or just postpone, pause.
Yeah.
That there's validity in it.
Yeah.
For me, like even in therapy where I've been told in the past, like, wait a minute, thoughts get too much. And it's like, wait a minute, do you want to close your eyes for a minute? Close my eyes, but I'm paying for the time. Do I want to close my? Is that a good use of my time?
I can sleep tonight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it's a very good use of your time because your mind is going, and it's like coming back in for the wisdom, for that place of, the high priestess. Okay,
I love bringing that back to the high priestess because
Yeah.
she is that like place of she's the pause, right?
Yeah.
In the major arcana.
yeah. And what card are we on now?
We're on 11.
Which is I've lost my place.
My eye went to the Fool. Nope, we're not on the Fool. I know you have all the cards. Here we are. Justice.
Oh, here's the
Yeah,
11.
Yeah, Justice.
We forgot justice and balance. Any Libras out there?
I don't like balance. It's just not my favorite. And I'm Libra rising.
I do. I like it.
I know, it's so boring though.
Well, but to find balance, you got to go out of balance.
Oh,
Like those old-fashioned scales.
that's the title of my autobiography. Forthcoming. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to say anything about this? Why don't you like it?
I think it's because it's so much of how I show up to the world, and I know it's like, your rising sign is your mask, right? It's sort of like if you meet me at a party and we don't have an in-depth conversation, you're going to think I'm a Libra, and then you find out I'm not a Libra, but you have to get to know me better to find out that I'm a lion. I'll bite your head off. But at first, you think I just want you to be happy. But
It's a good card trick in itself.
yeah, I know, right? And then I'm Sagittarius moon, so I just want to leave the party. So that's my thread. But I think for me, I don't resist it, but I do find I've always resisted balance because I find that I'm in the polarity most of the time. And I also think nature's not balanced. I mean, we have the equinoxes, right? There's 2 days a year when nature just goes, yes, equal light, equal night. Like, but that's 2 days out of 365. The other 363, she's either got too much sun or too much moon, right? So it's like...
She's finding that balance.
She's finding it. And she helps us recognize that we don't always have to be there.
But in life, getting the justice card, am I going to win that law case?
Yeah.
Am I going to,
Yeah, that's true.
justice? Now, unless you think that the other side is really right and the justice card,
That could be something, too.
But having that sense of, and there's something just so beautiful about a Libra.
There is. What do you think when it comes to love? You pull the justice card in a love reading. What does that say to you?
It could talk about marriage, making it
Official?
Yeah. And it would depend on the person. If you pull the justice card, one of the things I was going to teach today, which is another aside, is how to see an aura. A really quick, maybe you guys know this.
I think they would probably love to hear it.
And somewhere on in the internet is me doing a 2-minute video on how to teach. They did it. Somebody made it for me, and I never could.
You guys need to dig that up. You guys are the investigators.
If
of the
you could
internet.
find it,
that,
yeah. I did it for the Learning Annex. Did it? They wanted to do this
no way.
1 minute something, and they called me in to do it.
Yeah.
And then they never followed through on any of their stuff, but they put it out there somewhere. So every once in a while, and you'll see me wearing a wonderful purple dress.
But that sort of brings us back to that the
center.
Right, because if we reduce the 11 down, it's a 2. So then it comes back to the high priestess. Yeah.
And sometimes It's like coming back. When in doubt, go back to beauty. Beauty will always restore you. You're very dedicated to that.
I
Beauty
am.
will restore you.
Yeah.
And it's the feminine. It's part of the sacred feminine.
It is, yeah. Isn't that interesting that it reduces down to the high priestess?
Yeah.
And then that 11 energy of justice shows up in again in the polarity, right? In literally in the pillars that she sits between. So she becomes the embodiment of that. Love that.
Okay, I lost my numbers. 11,
So
12
we're
is the
12.
hanged man. The hanged
Not I don't like that in a love reading either.
It's one of my cards in the deck because I'm a 3, so
Yeah.
12 and 21.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they can see it or if I
Yeah.
have the light on it.
You like pulling that in a love reading? When people are like, so is he going to propose? And you pull the hanged man and you go, well.
Not yet. You'd say not yet. He's trying to figure things out. He hasn't figured it out yet. He's
Joe
still...
Bob needs time. I always say Joe Bob when I'm talking about like a potential, because I don't know a Joe Bob.
Yeah.
And then apparently somebody does know a Joe Bob.
Inevitably.
So I have to change the name. But anyway, Joe Bob needs time is always what I
Yeah.
say.
Well, it's also another thing about time has value. So if I'm looking outside and it's like, there's no plants out, nothing's happening in my world. And then all of a sudden spring comes and I look out and there's flowers. Well, they were happening imperceptibly.
I like
That whole time they were growing, so when you have the hanged man, it's like delays in getting where you want to go. And I'm a Capricorn. Capricorn is a sign of obstacle and delay.
Because it's ruled by Saturn.
And then this is one of my cards. So it's like, oh, couldn't I just, straight up the mountain to the top? But
Yeah.
I think for all of us, it's embracing our life lessons. One isn't better than the other, although we can all decide differently on that.
2 other things I'll share real quick about this card because this is one of the cards I have a lot to say about. He's not uncomfortable. I mean, he looks like he's doing ballet while he's on the card, right? So Hangman isn't in a rush to figure things out. And also, it's Odin hanging from Yggdrasil, where he channeled the runes.
Right.
I mean, so it's like, and I think for me as an empath who sometimes feels guilty if I'm not working really hard because I'm reading a book or
Constantly producing.
or like taking a nap and I'm having a dream which is prophetic or whatever, we have to learn to see productivity in a new way, and we also have to see that we're being productive even when we're hanging from the tree of
and I
life,
think again
right?
it's the embracing of the feminine, because the feminine is sort of like, I'm the magnet. I don't have to go chasing the holy grail. I'm not going out there killing people. And the feminine is like, I'm going to magnetize it to me. And I think it's the lack of embracing the feminine that
right, there's some interesting overlap there too.
we can't let ourselves be and see how productive it is.
Yeah. Jack of the Beanstalk in the...
Yeah, I don't get how but she explains her Jack and the Beanstalk. So that's 12. 13 is death. And I love this card in the inner child cards. I think it sells the whole deck. But here's the devil and Rider-Waite Smith.
The 13 is death, yeah?
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, no, yeah,
devil,
we're-
sorry.
Yeah, don't go to devil yet. I love the devil card.
The devil's my card.
I love the
Sorry.
devil card. Death is another interesting one in a relationship reading. I did a relationship reading for someone one time and I pulled Death, Tower, Hangman, and it's just like, so we're definitely getting engaged right now, right?
Right.
It's like, ay, right? So anyway, Death card.
The death card. Sorry, I mixed those up.
Yeah,
I just
no,
looked at
you're
the
fine.
color.
Yeah.
So the death card, and then what I like about the inner child card
Yeah.
is it's sort of, you're doing readings for people.
Big Bad Wolf.
The big bad wolf.
Yep.
I was telling Athena earlier, many years ago when I first started getting readings, and this woman gave me a reading and she was very scary about it. And she's, you're never going to get this guy, this other woman's in his house of sex, or, and I just hated that reading and I really objected. And now, all these years later, it's like, I might have learned something from her if I had not, like, what do you mean I'm not getting the guy and she's in his,
But she was right? I mean,
Probably.
yeah.
But here's the other thing. If you're doing a reading, how do you say that so a person can hear it?
I asked her to mention that today because a lot of you are readers, and it's like, when you're looking at the cards and you've got a querent in front of you who's like asking this big question, and it's like with big eyes, like waiting, and they're smiling, and then you're like, How do you, what's your theory
How do
on
you
that?
say it?
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I like about looking at the big bad wolf in the devil, we're on devil, right? The big bad wolf.
We're on death.
We're on death.
Yeah. Or is that that's her devil card? Yeah. What's her
That's
death
her devil.
card?
I'm sorry, you guys. You can see I have no boundaries.
She's a 3. No, but what's 13 in the
I
that
don't-
deck?
10,
give it to me
11,
and I'll find it.
12.
Yeah, what's her death card?
Being spacey is really good when you're doing readings, but it's not so great when you're trying to structure something.
Or driving a car. You know I'm the worst driver. I taught my son how to drive, and he's like, I'm really thankful that you taught me how to drive.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Also, you're not the best driver.
Because you don't want to space out.
Sleeping Beauty.
Sleeping Beauty. That's another beautiful card.
Ooh, isn't that?
So I'm going to center myself because I'm obviously getting everything at once.
Yeah. Sleeping Beauty as the death card is really interesting, isn't it? Because we always say the death card isn't death.
And that's what she talks about.
And that's what Sleeping Beauty is. She's not dead. She just isn't going to revive until the magic word, right?
And
So-
it's also the kiss on the forehead is I forget how they describe it in
Yeah.
there exactly, but
Yeah.
it's bringing consciousness
Ooh.
to her third eye.
Ooh.
And
I never thought about Sleeping Beauty like that. That the kiss on
Yeah.
the forehead is consciousness to the third eye. Did you guys think about it like that? Maybe.
yeah,
And only certain people can bring that consciousness.
yeah. So what does bring us consciousness? Because a lot of times it's the Tower card that's going to you feel destroyed,
Yeah.
and then it's like it makes you halt. It makes you go back to the Hermit where you've got to oh my God, I can't force anything. I got to sit, and then you start to get your own wisdom. Whenever, I know for me creatively, and 3 is a card about creativity, if I take a few days where I got to get to the point where I'm bored, but if I have a few days doing nothing, that's very hard for me to allow, but
Yeah.
I always know that I end up writing something. I'll end up writing poems, I'll end up...
Me too.
That
Me
it
too.
comes out of that hanged man space of that you're swinging over the emptiness, and you look down and it's like, oh, the runes. I've discovered something, but you can't exploit it.
Isn't that fascinating? Because don't you guys agree? It's like you need that creative time and space. I always say when someone's really agitated or in a place of a lack of clarity in their life, if I could pay for them to not work for 30 days, they probably could sort it all out. But it's like we
Yeah.
have the constant pull to something else, and we also cling to that. So they probably would resist having 30 days of, if I forced them to do nothing, they would resist it. But then what would come out of that would be a freedom that they didn't know they had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just thinking about, one of the things that happens to me is I have lots of thoughts at the same time. And so having that space where I have to, sometimes I'm walking, I'll be like, something feels wrong, I'm just going to stop. Even when I'm with somebody, I'll just go, we just have to stop and just be.
I can almost always tell when you're in that space, even though we don't talk every day, because you'll post a picture from the water. She lives right on the ocean, and you'll post a picture of the water. And there's an
Yeah.
energy to those photos when you do that always tells me
I know people are really resonating with those photos, and I'll think, well, they look like, but whatever. Yeah. I think there's so much power in talking to the water and talking to the sky. And what I was going to show you about reading an aura or seeing an aura is, say you put a person out front of you. You were in my class.
I do.
And we'd put them up against a white wall.
We would.
And then have everybody, and this is how I messed up my vision, but I'm all worried that you're going to think this is fat under here.
She's like the skinniest person you've ever met.
Anyway, a little body dysmorphia to get things
No,
going.
I know. We all had to tell her, we're like, you're so skinny and cute. She is. She's so cute. She's so cute.
Who are we talking about?
You.
Oh. I'm like, that can't be me.
No, she's so adorable.
I have this client, and she said, I did a reading this morning, and she's like, you tell me that he always thinks I'm attractive, and I just need you to say it. And I said, yeah, he really does, because I do a lot of telepathy. And,
Yeah.
So you put a person up against, say, a white wall, and then you kind of unfocus your eyes, you kind of squint a little, and look 6 inches above the person's head, and just unfocus. And give yourself the space, like, I don't see it yet, I don't see it. How I started seeing them, somebody told me, this psychic I knew, she said, if you stare at a spot on the wall for an hour and 20 minutes, you'll see a past life. So I stared at that spot on the wall, and what I noticed...
Sounds like a dare.
Well, what I did, of course I went immediately did it, and then somebody rang it, the phone. But what I saw was, oh my God, in those days I had a hi-fi, and all these auras started appearing around all the objects in the room. And after that, I was doing it to see the past life, and I did see the most graphic past life of all the past lives I've seen. But what I didn't have is what sort of techniques I have now for connecting and forgiving and all that. But I did, it was the most vivid of all of
really?
our lives. Yeah, it was in Russia, not the Russia we're seeing today.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was incredibly, you could feel it, you could sense it. But after that, staring at that spot on the wall, then I'd go to a poetry reading or wherever, and auras would start popping up above people. And I think, well, I guess they were always there.
Yeah.
But until I practiced a little, and you start seeing it.
Yeah. No, it's kind of like, so people always say like they want to see sacred geometry. Ayahuasca shows you sacred geometry. Now I can see it almost anywhere if I let my vision, or like that time right before you fall asleep. I love that time.
The
like
liminal.
I've learned how to use that time.
Yeah.
So don't ever just fall asleep. Like be mindful that that's what's happening and use that time. And anywhere I look on the wall, I can see the flower of life. Which is like, that's the flower of life is what you see when you die, right? Because that's like the fingerprint of creation. That's the border or boundary between like this dimension and the higher dimensions. And so it's like you can sort of just start to see how everything fades, and it all fades into that pattern. Anyway, it kind of reminds me of that. Yeah,
interesting. Where are we? Which card have we got
I don't
left?
know, the death card took us some weird places.
Oh, did we just do the death? Oh, then are we at the devil?
We're at 14.
14.
Yeah.
We're at temperance.
Yeah, where's temperance?
Right here.
Oh, there we go.
In the Thoth deck, he calls it art.
I always think of this as Aquarian energy.
I forgot what
the
rules
water
temperance. What rules temperance?
Is it Aquarius? I don't know.
It might be. I used to know it all by heart, but I have it written down here somewhere.
As the chalice is pouring that. There's an echo of this in the Two of Pentacles, I think, isn't there? Of like this sort of like playing with duality and finding balance through the elements, yeah. So the other decks we're looking at is the Inner Child deck, which we'll find and link to for you. And then we have, I had started with our Major Arcana deck that we made at SG. And then she's also working with the Thoth deck and and then this is the original Rider-Waite. This is her original deck.
And I'm just looking up something because typical of me, I didn't list all the ones here, and I can't think of them now because I'm so in this other part of my brain.
No, it's good. We don't have to cover everything today. Guardian Angel, by the way, in the Inner Child
Yeah.
deck.
And you can, in the Inner Child card, she'll say...
Sag rules justice. Sag rules justice. So it's not, or temperance.
It's Sagittarius.
Yeah. Temperance.
And it's also deeply alchemical. When I first started doing the cards, I looked at temperance as like, okay, balance. But it's like if you study alchemy of what it takes to, we've been talking about alchemy and talking about death and rebirth and all of that.
Yeah.
That place, there's a place that we're in as a world right now, which is sort of that dark thing where all the things, everything's going on.
Yeah.
And then it has to transform to the red, and then it turns to the white. Anyway, that's a whole discussion.
We've studied alchemy together as a collective, so they understand like the Negredo and the Citronitas and all of those phases.
Good. Good.
But yeah, so that's interesting that you see alchemy there, because it's true. I mean, it's a card that seems to focus on water, but you've got other symbols there that represent the other elements too.
And your life is an art. You're integrating things. Like I see you as the flower. One of the ways when I first, one of the courses I took early on was, I think they use Berkeley Psychic Institute's techniques, but you take a rose and you set it in front of your aura and you put people's energy into the rose and you see how the rose looks. And so when I started working with the psychic eye, people told me, well, do that. And I was like, no, when you start working where people are like, no, I just want to know, is he going to call and what time? I don't want to know about myself. And, there's so many, it's like different people's idea of what psychic is. Well, can you locate the, who's got the key and what, there's that game. And to me, I don't look at it as a game. I look at it as what I was saying about intuition, as my deep connection to the earth and everything in it.
And well, it's what's funny about you is that you are able to do those things. You can play that game, and so I think that's an elevated place to speak and know from. It's one thing if you aren't able to do that kind of detailed accuracy work that you're able to do, but because you know both sides of that, it's interesting to hear you talk still about the value of something more fluid and something more that's reflective, right, of the person and them becoming aware of themselves and their role in nature in their life.
Yeah, it is. Ultimately we're talking about love, and what is the thing we're hungering for that makes us seekers is that divine connection that we got broken, that we forgot. And then, we find it, we want to find it in people, but you're a lot better off if you can find it in yourself and with your connection to spirit. And that doesn't mean it precludes finding it with people. It'd be nice to find a spiritual person that could carry their own weight, so to speak.
In a way, I kind of like the guardian angel better than the temperance card.
Well, she talks here about if you pull this card, call for assistance of higher forces. They will come and tenderly embrace you.
Isn't that beautiful?
And she talks about the connection in the Aleister Crowley deck of art, which he calls it, to mix, to blend, to regulate. And your life is an art. Sometimes it's quite a chaotic one, but not really so much. What card are we on now?
So why don't we, it's 4:30.
Are we done?
Yeah, well, not quite, but I think we should probably do, I call it a lightning round, to move quickly through the remaining cards so that we have time for you guys for Q&A. So if we just left temperance.
So we're at 15, the big bad wolf, the devil.
Yeah, so we'll talk about
Here's
the
the
devil.
What bedevils you? What are you taking seriously? And then you can say the whole sexual connect. There's a lot of ways you can
temptation. Again, choices and options too. What are you not seeing that you need to see? Which is my number one question I learned from you. Like, what do I need to know that I don't know today?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, are you willing to look at it?
Yeah. And what can help me look at it?
Yeah.
Like, there's lots of ways of looking at that. And why I like the big bad wolf is those things we scare ourselves with.
Yeah.
Oh my God, if this happens to me, what's bedeviling you? And it's also get a sense of humor. Stop taking everything so seriously. And as a Capricorn, it's also to know Capricorns can be very material. And it's also to know that the ground you're standing on is holy.
Also, too, like, I was talking to a friend, and she said she's in her 70s, and she said, when I was in my 50s, my husband went on this, like, men's retreat, and they said, like, just write your bucket list. She said this was, like, 25 years ago, one of those, she's like, it was weird to do that back then, men's retreats and things.
It was, what's his name?
They were, like, peeing on their trees and stuff or whatever, but she's like, he left his bucket list on the bureau one night, and she said, I was just cleaning and tidying, and I found his bucket list, and it's like, have sex with as many women as I can, like, and she's just like, I'm looking at this,
oh my
and
God.
I'm like, what the fuck, and there's, she's like, we're still married, it's just like, in a way, and then he was like, this isn't my to-do list, it's not, you know what I mean, it's just like, they asked us to, like, big picture think about, like, what you would want to do if you could.
Yeah.
And so he was like, in a way, I'm glad you're seeing this, because it's kind of like my id on a piece of paper, and it's like everybody has an id. So it's also the recognition of that too. Like, we're all light and shadow. If you don't know someone's shadow, it's just because they haven't shown it to you yet. And sometimes the real challenge of intimacy is people feel authorized to share their shadow with you. And then what do you do with that? Because it's not like you don't have one too. Yours may not say have sex with as many people as you possibly can in a year or whatever, but I mean, like, you've got some stuff, right, that you wouldn't want to leave on the bureau. So anyway. So then we go from the devil to the tower.
Oh, the famous
Ruh-roh.
And here it's called Rapunzel.
Oh, geez. Translate that for us, because
Rapunzel, where she's be prepared for transformation. She's
her braids are hanging out of the castle window.
The collapse of the false self is the reversal. Let me see.
Woo.
When this card appears in your reading, be prepared for transformative experiences. And, you know, Jungians would talk about if you're consciously living your life, you don't need big crashes to wake you up. That, you know, illnesses, major things that change people's lives.
It's true. Sometimes it's a critique, the Tower card. It's like, well, we had to put you here because you weren't paying attention.
And you can be there. We're always going to get like, oh, I was paying attention. How much attention do I, you know, how attentive do I have to be? But it's also like, I need to declutter. I need to let go of, you know, and life will wake you up if you've been sleeping. And we all do go to sleep. Before I got sick, I was having like little signs, and I would say, oh, I can't take time off right now. You know, I would keep, oh, it's probably allergies. Oh, it's probably this. Oh, I have, you know, as opposed to that halt, that you know, high priestess of, wait a minute, let me just take a moment and see what comes through. And maybe you get it and maybe you don't.
So, yeah, and so that transition from the death to the Tower then leads to the star, because you were talking about that earlier.
And this, just so you know, the Rapunzel and the Tower, it's connected with Mars. So when you're reading the cards, I have a friend who's written books on it, and she very often, if you say cards to her, she'll just translate it into astrology, and she'll go, oh, see, it told you yes.
Yeah.
Now I got a yes, but I didn't do like, she breaks it
Interesting.
down into all this linear.
Yeah.
She writes under the name Juno Lucina, and if
Oh.
you see her books, she's just got so much information that my little spacey mind, you know, I'm back to looking at an aura and spacing out, and letting things come in, you know, intuitively.
No, but that's really interesting about that too, because it's like it's Mars is the red planet, right? It's sort of like, and the Tower is sort of something pushed to its limit. So something has to be destroyed in order for something new to be created.
Yeah, and the more we do that, you know, like going to therapy, having readings, being willing to look at your motives, and stuff's always going to catch us by surprise. This human, I mean, we're human beings. We're just, there's always going to be something you didn't know until, it's like me with the auras. Oh, they were always there. I just thought certain people could see them. I didn't know anybody could see it.
Yeah.
And some people will see it better than others. And again, when I was first working at the Psychic God, I had some clients wanted to have power over people.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of times people come to this like, oh, you can see somebody asked me the other day, like, what color is his aura? You know, because it's like, it's not, the aura changes, and it's not going to give you any, it wasn't like, oh, if I get this, it's going to fix it, and I'll get power over him. Get power over yourself, and you've got, you know.
Power over other people, because everything is a mirror, is dangerous, I think, you know.
It's a mirror.
Power with, you know.
Somebody, I was talking to a Jungian therapist, and she was saying that, what was she saying? That a lot of times, we were talking about this particular couple, and the woman was in, a client of, the woman was in an abusive situation, and she was saying, well, the woman is so nice, the husband carries the whole shadow. He's the abuser. She needs to be less nice.
Isn't that fascinating?
And I'm not a Jungian. I take a lot of the ideas, but it's sort of like, if somebody were abusing me, I would, you know, there's a lot of different ways we can look at it, but the way she was saying in couples in her therapy, if she's getting abused, where does she need to bring her shadow forward so he's not the shadow in the relationship?
He needs to be the antagonist then. Yeah. I mean, there's always a protagonist and an antagonist, and the light and the shadow. And yeah, if one person gets sort of villainized or demonized in the relationship, then there's probably some transference there.
Well, some people are demons, and if you need a demon to carry the you know, I mean.
No, some people are.
You know, I can think of some people that I can think of one client's significant other that it's a toxic guy, carries a lot of toxic energy.
Yeah.
No offense to any guys out there. I'm not saying all guys carry it, but that guy does. And for me, again, because I don't have really great boundaries.
Yeah.
I tend to like chameleon out, you know?
Yeah, I do too.
And so I can get lost in things. And what was I talking about? Oh, so toxic energy, I'll start to feel it really strongly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And have to cleanse myself from it.
Me too.
But my issue is, Lorrie, get better, strengthen your boundaries. And we can talk about how you can do that with the aura. I'm going to do it with my aura. I call your aura energies around you. Okay.
So then we have the star.
The star.
The star is 17.
Ruled by Aquarius.
Now we're in Aquarius town.
And that's that guy doing his bucket list, but I would say less of his bucket list. I mean, what do you really want?
Yeah, yeah.
It goes back to that lust card or strength. What do I want? Well, why do I want it? I want to be able to walk again. But when I walk again, I want to have peace of mind whether I'm walking or not walking. That's what it seems to go back for me as I get older. It's like, I just want to have peace of mind, because the mind can be the old trauma. I had a lot of trauma growing up. And those of you who know how to do tapping's a good thing.
It's very good.
For trauma. And the other thing that I don't know if this is actually technically true, but one of the things that I learned is that people that have grown up in a lot of trauma, it breaks your prefrontal lobes or something.
It does.
So it makes you more psychic. It just, how you got there.
Well, because they say that, people become empaths because they had an unstable parent. And they had to learn to be highly aware of every action on behalf of those adults because it became unsafe.
Yeah. And
I don't know if that's true or not, but that's
I think it is true. If people that grew up around alcoholics, you can be quite psychic, because alcoholics or schizoid personalities it's hard for me to tell sometimes when I'm looking at somebody and I'll think, did they have an alcoholic parent or a bipolar? Because I'll see, like, it's almost like a web that I'll see. And when you have that early, it's like you have to know what the person's thinking before they even think it, because you don't want to get hit.
Yeah.
I have that hypervigilance too, and it makes me a good reader when I have the boundaries around it, because I can go, oh, forget the cards, I'm just going to tell you what I see. Or I can do, looking at the cards, like, let's let the cards talk to each other, converse with each other, and also converse with your vibration.
Yeah. No, totally.
Where we did the star.
Then it's interesting. The star goes to the moon, goes to the sun. So then we have these huge, celestial bodies right now between the moon and the sun. And notice again in the major arcana how the dualities are always right next to each other. Emperor, Empress, right? Sun and moon. So, so we have 18 is the moon and 19 is the sun.
And it's Pisces for the moon, and the sun is, wait a minute, she calls it Yellow Brick Road.
Yellow Brick
The sun is, the planetary ruler is, guess what? The sun.
Yeah. In a love reading, I always see the moon as what are you not seeing or hearing? Like, what's eluding your, like, usually when I see, and I want to know what you think, it's always like the person is not fully aware of the dynamic. There's something hidden, could be an affair or something like that. Yeah.
And also the things, it's also, is somebody deceiving me? Who can I trust?
Yeah, who can I trust? And the star, going back to it in case you missed that, is what do I really want? So this is what do I really want? What am I missing? Or what isn't what is appearing as truth that is not? And also going within for your own animal nature. You see the dogs in it. Going into your own animal nature. And because a lot of times we want to go from our analyzer and we want to be, figure everything out. And sometimes you just have to sit with the gunk and the deep animalism of what we are. Yeah. And your motives, like we were talking earlier, like what's your motivation? And it can be primal.
And it usually is.
Yeah.
It usually is.
Okay, and then let's just do 19 and 20 because I want to make sure they have time for
questions. Okay, are we
at
judgment yet, or
or
did we do 19? Yeah, we did the sun. We did
the
19.
sun, and then we have judgment. Yeah,
we have judgment, where it's like a rebirth. A lot of times in a love reading,
this scares the shit out of me, kind of. I don't know why. It's just the image on the card. It's not the card itself. It's just. I was raised to think that like Jesus was going to come down from the clouds one day, and like certain people would go up with him if you were good, but then other people would be left here and they were going to like roast in these fires or whatever. It's very like evangelical Christian. So I always kind of saw this as like, God's in the clouds, like Grandma said it was going to be, and now I didn't now I'm in trouble.
And I think of it like it's ruled by Pluto.
Yeah.
I think of it like this awakening.
Ah.
Like, oh, I was in my sleepy state, and then something good came and woke me up. Like sometimes in a love reading, am I going to meet somebody? Ooh, somebody's can come like
out of the
blue.
and it's not Jesus. That's
yeah,
cool.
because I don't have that Christian background.
Yeah. Oh, we did skip sun. Sorry. Yeah, let's go back to sun.
Oh, we didn't do sun?
Yeah. Well, not fully. We kind of talked about the duality of sun and moon. But
Okay.
in a love reading, how do you see the sun?
You know, it can be really positive. Most people see the sun as positive, but you
I
can
get
get
excited.
burned by the sun too.
I'm
There's
thinking about
always that little, like the Nine of Cups in the Minors. The Nine of Cups, there's this, in the Rider-Waite-Smith, there's this like curtain over something. It's like, wait a minute, oh, I get happiness and love, but it's like, wait, am I seeing it all? You know?
I never thought about that with Nine of Cups.
Yeah, there's always something.
Yeah, you can get burned by the sun. I always get excited about sun card in a reading, but now I'm going to be like, but maybe it's too much of a good thing sometimes.
Well, you sit with a Capricorn and it's like, oh, yeah.
The Debbie Downer side of the sun card. Yeah, so it is Archangel Gabriel blowing the trumpet. It is not Jesus coming back. I'm what I'm doing right now is projecting my own childhood onto a card.
But you know what? We do that. When I see the Three of Discs, where they're standing, I often see it as a marriage card.
Oh, do you?
Because they look like they're getting married under a canopy.
Yeah.
And so I question whatever comes up during a reading or around a reading is part of the reading.
Yeah.
So if somebody bird flies into your window, it's like, oh, isn't that interesting? I mean, poor bird, but it's all part of what's happening.
Trying to tell you, right?
Or like me when I was writing and all those blood spots appeared on that page.
Yeah.
Okay, where are we at? We did 20.
Yep, we did 20.
And now we're at 21. The World Dancer, the World card.
What did I do with it?
What did we do with the world? Do not misplace your world.
Leave it to her and me to misplace.
I know. The Wheel of Fortune sort of calls back to it too.
It does too.
Maybe we'll fake it. We'll pretend this is a world and we'll lie to you. I saw the one with the baby. That's the one with the inner child.
I didn't see the world card in all of our journeys today, so maybe.
Well, if you were looking at the book, there's
that one. I can show you in our deck.
And I can show you in the Toth deck.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the Hermit.
Here's the world. Which is our riff on the Rider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's perfect, actually. That's why it's for some people called the World Dancer.
Yeah.
But you can see how so many cards are already speaking to each other.
Oh, they do. Well, and so what does the world mean in a reading for you? And then how does that? Because you say that's the awakened fool. Is that what the language?
Well, I
is?
say that after this is 21.
Yeah.
The Fool comes back in as the unofficial card 22. There is no 22.
Yeah.
But it's like things come together in a bigger way. And then you choose, am I going to come back? Am I going to stay out of life? And I mean, don't we all choose that sometimes? Like, I'm just going to the Hermit card.
Yeah.
I like my bed and I'm getting in it and watching Netflix.
Yeah.
I say that with great ease.
No, my bed is like is an art almost. Like the amount
Everything
of care
around you is an art.
Well, but I mean, the kids joke that they cannot get into my bed and get out and like go to school. Like it's a trap.
I have a bed like that too, but now I want to see your bed.
My bed's real good. Yeah, they want to know. So the book that she's referencing, by the way, is the Inner Child Cards book.
It all goes together. If you buy those cards, you will get this book.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I got it, and many years ago, I hadn't looked at it until today for a long time, is because when you're reading for other people, you don't just want to. I mean, I knew a reader that I used to work down the hall from me when I was at the bookshop. And you'd go in her room, she always told you horrible things were going to happen to you.
Wow.
Oh, look, here's this card, horrible thing is going to happen to you. Well, that's not life, and we make our fortune as well. That's the best way to predict your fortune is to be, that's why I send the newsletters out with the affirmations. And it's not everything, but it certainly made my life different.
How do they subscribe to the newsletter, by the way?
Oh, just go on ilovemypsychic.com or LorrieKazan.com, and you should see something to sign up.
Yeah, I think it says subscribe and there's a button or something. Yeah. You should subscribe. It's a little pickup in your inbox when mostly probably what is there is,
Well, you know what I find that when I write them and go over them, my life changes.
Oh yeah.
It's funny because sometimes I go, oh, I already got this done, but the ones I have to like keep going over and it takes it's like a quiche. It takes an amazingly long time to make, and then people think they're eating scrambled eggs. You know, it's like it goes down really quickly and smoothly, but you know, so you can't tell that it's really a quiche. Okay, she said something interesting that I was looking at today. You are never alone. Let's see, the Fool, the Little Red Cap, the Cycle of Life. The Earth Child card is deeply associated with the magic of organic growth and spiritual forces at work in the seed state. For most of us, it's like things coming together in a big way.
Yeah, the World card.
But you know what's funny is it's ruled by Saturn.
Interesting.
And I don't think Saturn is the most fun, and I'm a Capricorn, so.
No, but it's the big cycles of life, right? If you think about the Saturn returns, it's like, you know, I shudder to think what my next Saturn return will
what's the next one?
56 to 59.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm definitely not ready to be there yet, but, yeah, no, for me in a love reading, the World card represents like, macro out a little bit, helicopter up, see the bigger choreography.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like maybe you're too mired in the details, or you're too close to the situation. And because of the dancing sort of metaphor, I think about choreography. Like if you're on, I always say if you're on the dance floor, you can't see the choreography. So you have to go up to the balcony to look down and see that there's a choreography happening. So it's like when you're too close to a situation, you can't see the choreography.
And there's also something I was reading for a client, and her mother, or I don't know, some relative came in, and she was saying to the daughter, my client, you're not going to know, you're doing what I used to do. I thought I could figure it all out while I was alive. And now that I'm on this other side, it's like, now I know. I don't know everything, but now I know. And I was thinking that was wisdom for me too, because we're always like trying to figure, let me get it through the cards, let me get it.
Mind over matter.
And she was saying, rest easy, girls. Rest easy, ladies.
Yeah.
You're not going to, no matter how much you're doing, there's some stuff you're just not going to know until you're meant to know.
You're not going to know until you're meant to know.
Yeah. And I think that's that Hanged Man also. And it's like, I want to know today. I need to know today. You know what?
But it's the High Priestess too, who does know almost everything and is silent, right? There's like I know, but I'm not going to. It's like letting people have the integrity of their own experience too.
That's a hard one. That's again the putting down. There's a saying: we can't change anyone but ourselves.
Right.
But we're so good at it, like.
We can ask people to change.
And it never works. Just in case you're out there and you're trying to change somebody.
That might be for you. So you guys jump in with questions. We're here for it. And we've been kind of trying to address some questions as we've gone. But yeah, what's on your mind? Do you have enough tea? You want some more tea?
I have enough.
Okay. Yeah, let's do it. What's on your mind?
I can't see what that says.
I'll read. I'll kind of pull from it.
This is what happens. Nobody tells you these things are going to happen to you.
No, look.
And of course, you've got lovely ones.
I have cute readers, but they like it when I put my glasses on.
Oh, those are beautiful.
I
can't find glasses because my face is too small, so I either have to wear little kids' glasses or the one.
Oh, but that's cute though.
Thank you.
Is there a certain spread you would do for a love reading, or just pull one card?
I do have a spread that I use.
She does.
And I often do this spread where, let's see, let me get into my left brain a little. I mix all the cards. I tend to use all the cards because I use them like if you were doing a sentence, like, you know how we used to diagram, they probably don't do that anymore, a sentence, and then you've got your modifiers. And one thing I could
English
do,
teacher, I loved doing
the
that.
one structural thing I could do, and nobody does it, and I can handwrite, and they don't like that anymore.
Yeah.
I do one where I pull a card for where does the relationship stand today. I pull one for how does the other person, let's say I'm the person, how does the other person see me in their conscious mind? Another card, what's their gut feeling about me? Not just the conscious mind, but the gut feeling. What do they show other people? And then I pull one for what can I expect from them next? Then I pull how do I see that person? What's my gut level feeling for that person? What do I show other people? What can they expect next from me? And then I pull one for what does the future between us look like?
Oh, nice.
So that's a spread I often use for doing that reading. And again, because I sort of boundary-wise am not very linear, I will, what's that person's gut level feeling for me? A card that I see might tell me, oh, he's, in my case, he has issues. It's not just me.
Yeah.
Because our human self is like, we want what we want when we want it.
Yeah. Well, the other thing she does too, which I love, is you have the person say their name out loud. You want to speak to that? And then the other person's name out loud? And what does that do for you?
I don't know when I started doing that, but I'm more auditory than visual. So for instance, I would have you say your name and your husband's name, or your name and a friend's name.
Yeah, that's right.
Sometimes people are like, my brother stopped talking to me. So I'd be like, okay, say your name, his name, your name, his name.
Charlotta Joe Bob, Charlotta Joe Bob.
Yeah. And then I will take a minute and I'll see, that'll tell me what's going on with Charlotta.
Yeah.
And then Joe Bob, Charlotta. Joe Bob is he likes to control.
Yeah.
He wants more control in the relationship. So it's one of the ways that gives me into the person's head, what they're thinking.
And she'll stop you mid-sentence. She'll have you say yours and the person, and then the person and yours, and you just say it until she starts to go. So it's kind of like so if that's helpful for you, yeah. So, and a lot of times you're just reading for me, so it'll just be my full birth name out loud.
Yes, I will have, I always start readings. Sometimes I'll start as I see the aura, but I try to start by having you say your full birth name. And then a lot of times people have changed their names, and then I'll say, well, use
or
the
a
name.
nickname or whatever.
Yeah, use the name you use, and then I'll look at, oh, this is who they were. Have some people who have names, they've given themselves like Morning Star, Glass Eyes, I don't know. and I'll say, okay, say that name, and then, their original name, June, blah, blah, blah. And I'll see, sometimes they have really moved away from who they came in as. And sometimes there's still that, sometimes I can know it's a fake name.
Ooh, interesting.
Because they're not that name.
There's
it just
no energy
fit.
between the,
Something's missing.
There's a question, if someone wanted to get just one deck, what would you
Let me just say one thing about the something missing.
Yeah.
Is that a lot of times people cut off the hurt child. The child I'm embarrassed about, ashamed, there's too much shame connected, and now I'm Marjorie Morningstar. And it's like, without that synthesis of that inner child, you're floating around.
It's like an integration or a reintegration.
And the more we reject our inner child, the more we can't get whole.
Or people will say, I can't integrate because I was adopted and I have no idea about my birth parents. But that's also, you would say, I think, that energy is totally accessible.
Yeah. And what they found from the psychic spies doing remote viewing, and that's a whole conversation, many in itself.
That's a fun conversation.
Nothing is hidden. And again, if you do readings, and I'll get to the deck, and I think the Rider-Waite is a really great deck for so many reasons. I hesitated to get it because everybody's got the Rider-Waite, and I wanted to be different, so I started with the Thoth, which I really like. But when I started doing the Rider-Waite, I was really, it is the deck I use the most often.
Yeah. What were you going to say about psychic spies? So just that everything's
the remote
revealed?
Viewing is that remote viewing is a whole story in itself, but you can see anything. And one of the things they teach you in remote viewing, they have this thing called, and I'm going to say it quickly, the analytic overlay, that I don't know a way to say it fast, so we'll have to do a class on what's the difference. But I'm hiring myself.
No, but she's really, we may want to do a part 2 of this just because she has done remote viewing and the stories are really fascinating. But yeah, it's a whole thing. It's a thing.
Because you get little pieces. It's a different way of describing. But what my point was is that we can see anything. And in readings, people, I will sometimes say that's not ethical for me to do.
Yeah.
You're not in that person's, they'll want to know somebody else's, my daughter is, or somebody, tangential. It's none of their business. And there's a part of me, the people pleaser, that's like, but something in my stomach is like, it's hard to say to a client, that's not really our business.
Yeah. Yeah, especially when you can give very specific.
Right, because there's a part of me that thinks, oh, they're thinking, okay, then I'll go to somebody who would do it. And then I have to think, without my integrity, I have nothing.
Yeah.
So.
If you're really good at this work, which she is, at
you.
some point you have to draw a line.
Well, for all of us, if we don't have our integrity, and that's, again, knowing your motives, knowing that chariot card.
Yeah.
Being able to be aligned so you can move forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm not saying this to promote her, but I will just say, like, she does do private readings, and it is. But I always say you got to be ready. She tells the truth. She's very accurate, and you don't sugarcoat. I mean, but we're not here for an hour together to sugarcoat things for each other.
Well, and you have a good
like,
listening. Your ability to listen, for me to, different. That's why I always say to people, take the first 5 minutes. If you don't like this style, we'll call it a day, and avoid the charge.
Yeah.
Because I can talk in my big intuitive way,
Yeah.
as opposed to, but you didn't tell me what time he was going to call.
Well, but sometimes you do.
Well, ironically, I do know when your alcoholic boyfriend is going to call.
Yeah, no,
I
yeah,
know why.
that's
Somehow
a
I know
unique
that.
gift. Not mine, but just like the generic. I don't have an alcoholic boyfriend, but not today. But
Sometimes I have to tell people the boyfriend is an alcoholic.
yeah,
And once somebody asked me to look at this guy, he wasn't calling. That's when I worked with the psychic guy, and I'm like, I said, is he on drugs? Oh, yeah, he's on drugs. You want him to call? Okay, I get it. You're hooked on this guy. I said, I'm getting this terrible headache. Oh, and he also has a brain tumor. But why didn't he call? I'm like, well, he's on drugs and he has a brain tumor. But again, I don't say that to put anybody down, because
no, but you should get a pass on timing, though, if that's what's going on with you. You know what I mean? Like, that's not somebody that we can say is going to call you at 3 p.m. on a Thursday.
Ironically, I said he's thinking about calling you, but this was many years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, you never know what you're going to get. Another psychic told me, spirit comes when it wants. We prepare, but
One other question that I think is, I'd love to know your perspective too. What about reversed cards?
I hate reverse cards, and I do read them.
I don't read reverse, but you do.
I don't want to miss out on anything. But, that's that 3 in me. I got to bring everything.
I know.
And sometimes I'm reading Rider Waite, and I'll say, now, if we were in the Thoth deck, it would be telling us, because reverse cards, Mary Greer, who's written a lot of books, Tarot for Yourself, she has one on tarot reversals.
She brought me to a workshop with Mary Greer. It was super awesome.
I did?
Well, you invited me and I went.
Oh,
yeah.
Good.
It was 100 years ago. It was really great.
I know. I think I remember everything, but if I ever get dementia, anyway.
It's okay. I remember so much. I'll be your memory for you.
Right. I'll be like your grandmother showing nude pictures.
Yeah, ask Athena.
Reversals. She has one all about tarot reversals, 21 ways.
Yeah.
And I bought the book and I still haven't finished it, but Mary Greer's quite good.
Yeah, she's a good resource in general.
Because I'm a very intuitive person, sometimes it's easier for me just to do that, like I'm looking at the aura, like going into the card and seeing what does it want to say. Because remember, the cards, especially if you're doing a spread, what are they saying to each other? And there are specific meanings, many of them, for reversals, but when you start looking up meanings, there's an awful lot to choose from.
Yeah.
So keep a journal. And when you read something...
keep talking. I actually have a deck here I wanted to show you and them, and
Sure.
I forgot to pull it over. So you keep talking, and I'll just speak to
and I have nonstop talking now. I'm like, keep talking? What am I going to say? What was I saying? I forgot. And you guys are probably reminding me, but I can't see it. Reversals.
I was so excited to show this to you, and I get to show it to them at the same time.
Okay, good.
I actually, Facebook ads drive me crazy because you order a dress and it comes and it's like a child's dress and it looks so cute on the model or whatever. But this deck I found on Facebook, and it's the Rider Waite, and it has the direct meaning and the reversed meaning.
Oh, nice.
And it shows you the sign. It tells you if it's a yes or no in a reading. Gives you keywords. I'm not here to promote this, but I just thought if you're learning, this is a really cool. I'll try to find the link.
I've seen those. It's called a beginner's deck.
Yeah, it's like a learning deck or something.
Deck.
Like
what I don't like about it, Capricorn, is that I don't know that it's necessarily accurate.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't reflect all my beliefs about the cards.
But it does give you a place to begin.
So if you are literally just trying to learn about these cards, this was the one Facebook ad purchase in my life that has not let me down.
You know, another thing that I did when I was first starting out, I would find certain keywords and I would write it in pencil at the top.
Oh, interesting.
I remember my friend Victor said, "You have a cheater deck." And it wasn't a cheater. I don't think anything is cheating because
No.
I'm there to do a psychic reading and the cards are just part of it.
Yeah.
And but anything that starts to give you a connection, and then you'd find if you work at like a bookstore, you get everything, and you just get, it's like an internship of
That's
all
right.
sorts of different kinds of people, and you see what resonates for somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it's a great idea to do something. I kind of wanted to make my own that was more true to kind of what I see
Yeah.
the cards as, but I mean, I thought that was it's still just, it's a cool thing. It was $20 I think. And
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And for many of us, we end up having, like, I know a lot of people collect decks.
Oh, I'm a deckaholic. It's bad. I mean, I have like a bin of them under my bed. I don't even want anybody to see it. It's
I have them in a cupboard and
They
out
don't.
on a thing.
No, yeah.
But Mary Greer will have, the writer, she has people like look at her 100 decks and say, which one do you want me to read with?
Oh, yeah.
And if I'm wanting to do a more spiritual, in the old days when I wanted to do a more spiritually oriented one, I would go for the Thoth
Yeah,
deck.
it's a little deeper.
I have cat decks. I've got
She's read for me from her cat deck, one of her cat decks.
Bohemian cats.
So they were asking maybe if you'd be willing to do a collective card, like a poll for our
I was
group.
going to do that.
I think that'd be really fun, a way to conclude. And then didn't I tell you it goes by fast?
Yeah, you didn't tell me I would be talking. I mean, you didn't tell me that you wouldn't have to push me to talk. I forgot I talk a lot. I talk because I love it.
Oh, I know.
I really love this stuff. It's so much. I think of it like learning a foreign language. It becomes part
This
of
is
you.
who you are.
And then
It
when you
isn't
try
what
to
you do.
when you try to break it up and do structure, I'm like, it's just like I'm in the conversation with it so
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
So you wanted me to pull a card for what? What's the clearer the question, the clearer the answer. What's the question you want to know?
I'll ask just on behalf of the collective. So, what does our collective need to know about love that we don't know today? It's a good Lorrie question.
You're gonna love this one, the Tower. And that's things fall apart.
Yeah.
Things fall apart, and it doesn't mean it's over.
Mm-hmm.
It means you shed skin, so to speak. It means that, you're. What does it mean to you? Because I was.
Well, I want to pull up that poem. Can you hand me my phone over there?
Which
Is it Langston Hughes?
Oh no, it's
No, it's not. It's
he also wrote September 1914. Things fall apart. The center cannot hold. The Irish poet, who also Mary Greer has a wonderful book on.
It's
Yeats.
Yeats. Yeah. So this is what the Tower card is for me. Turning and Turning is called The Second Coming, and it is one of my favorite poems, and I attribute it to Langston Hughes.
I like him too.
I
but
like
it's
Langston
quite
Hughes
different.
too. Yeah. Well, I mean, couldn't be more different actually. Turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Ooh, it just gives me chills all over my body. I had to read this in class out loud. I chose this for poetry reading. Turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart. The center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood-dimmed tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. Surely some revelation is at hand. Surely the second coming is at hand. The second coming! Hardly are those words out when a vast image out of Spiritus Mundi troubles my sight. Somewhere in the sands of the desert, a shape with lion body and the head of a man, a gaze blank and pitiless as the sun, is moving its slow thighs, while all about it reel shadows of the indignant desert birds. The darkness drops again, but now I know that 20 centuries of stony sleep were vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle. And what rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born.
I love Yeats. How do we make peace with the tower for our collective?
Yeah, uh-huh.
The Chariot.
Move it. Shift
And
it.
get yourself aligned.
Yeah, yeah.
That it's all part of your, you could say it's all part of your alignment.
Uh-huh. I like that too. Yeah.
Because we always think, what did I do wrong? Are we at our time?
We are. I want to thank all of you for being here. I want to thank you for bringing your wisdom and your beauty and your spirit and your absolute wisdom, which is unmatched.
Oh, thank you.
In my experience. So I really hope you enjoyed every minute of this, because for me it was on my bucket list is not have sex with many people in Canada here. It's to have Lorrie Kazan
No, that's your
teach
youth.
a tarot class. That may have been in my 20s.
Yeah.
It may be again in my 80s, according to my grandmother, right? Like
What the
it was
hell?
probably on her list. But anyway, thank you for being here and enjoying this. There are notes for sure, so don't worry about that. You can always watch the replay too if you felt like, because there was just so much here and so much to unpack, and all of her Lorrie-isms, as my sister and I call them, her little pearls, that we always Lorrie to each other. It's actually a verb. She's like, you're Lorrying to me. And I'm like, I know. So anyway, we appreciate you so much, and we hope that this brought the major arcana to life.
Thank you so much. It had me go and look at it in a different way.
Did
And
it?
it's like when you look around, well, nobody's doing that. Major arcana and love. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's all a learning.
Yeah. So cheers, everybody. Yep. They're already asking for you to come back.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
Have a great night, everybody. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
And Alexis for, as always, holding it down and moderating.
I don't know who's where, but thank you.
That's Alexis.
Oh, there you are.
And
No
Karen's
cough.
in the feed. You know Karen. Oh, there's no notes. Okay, well, you're on your own.
There's no notes?
There's no notes, but you can go back. So you have the recording forever and ever.
I
on
have
that.
notes.
Yeah, she has notes. There might be some things that she wants to share from her notes. So if there is, I'll take a screenshot and post
You
it.
wanted
Like
to do that
quote, yeah.
intuition.
So I'll take this her definition of intuition and screenshot that into your Facebook.
And I don't know
post
where
for
I
you.
got that from.
It's
It was
real good,
notes
though.
from a class. Could have been remote viewing.
Could have been 100 years ago, right? Could have been
Yeah,
that
it could
early,
be
like
100
psychic
years ago.
development class from 1994 or whatever.
Well, I was always trying to find my way.
Yeah. Oh,
Where
I
are my
know.
swans?
Yeah. Well, you found us, and now we're
Yeah.
still migrating around.
Some of you
so.
weren't born when I was looking. I needed you to be
Oh my
born.
goodness. All right, you guys. Cheers. Have a great evening. We'll
Thank
see you
you.
soon. And I'll see you tomorrow for session 4 of February. Hard to believe. We are there.
I don't know how you do
Huh?
it.
What was that?
The name of your deck, the one that you showed.
Which
The inner,
deck? Oh, the inner
the inner
child?
child. There's
No, your deck, Athena, the Facebook
oh
one.
the learner one.
Oh, the learner deck. Yeah, I will try to find that for you. It was a Facebook ad. So I don't know. It was a shitty little website. I don't know, and there's no I will tell you something. If you ever make an oracle deck, put your URL or something at the bottom,
Yeah.
because then people try to find it and they can't. So I have some mentoring for them on their graphic design, and branding. But anyway, cheers, you guys.